And I think what you're saying, it's those walls are consistent. We'll get it cleaned up in a second. I'm not saying you want me. Because I was surprised. Okay, so it's 12:45 or so. We have two items on the consent calendar. Number one is the Highway 101 segment 4D for final approval. Now, Claire, have you had a chance to review these, please?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any comments, please?
No, I do not have any comment. They were consistent with what I had asked them to do or not do. They all, it looks good to me.
Okay, I did have a question on they have several files, one of which is a PowerPoint file. Page 8, please. I was surprised to see multicolor on that retaining wall after our discussion of the singular color at the intervening wall. And I just wanted to make sure that we all know what we're doing here, please.
Yes, I'll try to answer that. So we talked about the singular color specifically for the barrier treatment.
That's correct.
And the retaining wall here, it's showing right now that in-out block pattern. But the in-out block pattern can't be accomplished using the concrete masonry units, similar to what we've done in the other parts of the corridor, for instance, 4C. So what we're trying to do is mimic that color pattern with the Linden and Casitas project that's down in Carpinteria, which you see down there in the bottom.
With concrete block. With concrete block or poured in place concrete?
Poured in place concrete. So that would be a stained product.
Okay, so you do intend to have a multicolor retaining wall and a singular color barrier division.
That's correct.
And that's consistent with the rest of the corridor.
That's correct.
Okay. So are you good with that?
Yes, I was almost going to. I was trying to tell you before we started.
I'll stop being polite.
You're the
Outside.
one. You're the one. You know.
Okay, thank you. I'm good with this. She's been far more intimate with this project than I have, as you know. And so thank you very much. We will recommend final approval to the full board. We do not make the decision. The full board makes the decision. So far, we're batting 1,000, but we'll see. Maybe this is the first one. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, item C2. Kevin, are you here or anyone else, please, with us that wants to address the board? Item C2, 21766 Sycamore Canyon Road.
Yes, I'm here. This is
Okay.
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. So Claire, did you have a chance to review these drawings, please?
Yeah, yes, I did, and I also got an email from David, and I read that, and I get what's going on here.
And are you okay? We were missing the landscape plan last time. Are you good with what they're proposing, please?
Yes,
And so am I. So Kevin, thank you for that extra effort this morning.
I appreciate your early review.
Yeah, well, we wanted to do what, when we can, we want to do what we can to help. So again, we will recommend, what are we on for? Just final
I don't.
today to the full board, and we'll see what happens at that point. So thank you and the landscape architect.
Okay, thank you very much.
Help, thank you. Okay, that ends the consent calendar for today. So are you gonna Are we ready, sir? It is 1 o'clock on May 4th. I'd like to call the May 4th Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. First item on the agenda is public comment for any item that is not on our agenda today. Is there anybody that would like to address the board, please?
I don't have any requests to speak on at this portion of our agenda.
Excellent. Okay, item 2 is agenda status report. We have something on that, please?
Yes, we have one item. So the applicant for item number 8, 800 Cold Springs Road LLC residential addition is requesting a continuance to your June 1st meeting.
And what was that on for? Was that for concept?
No.
No, preliminary final. So we need a motion to continue that, correct?
Please.
Okay, would somebody like to make that
I'll
motion?
make a motion to continue item, excuse me, I'm trying to get my, out of this hole I'm in right here. For item 6 on the agenda,
Eight.
8, excuse me, 8.
800.
Continue to, when do you want it, John? When?
June 1st.
Okay, so continue that item to June 1st.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Any discussion? Anybody? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, please. Anything else?
That was it.
Okay. Minutes of April 20th. Does anybody have any comments, please?
No.
Anybody? Okay, so I have a couple. On page 3. I know this seems like it's part of the Department of Redundancy Department, but I think on item number 3, we should put on their site visit required. We had it today, but that's what happened in that meeting. I think we ought to get that included. Not C3, item 3.
No, item 3. Oh,
Okay, just site visit required. And then the next one is item number 4, 2445 Sycamore Canyon Road. This project, I felt, needed comments about the architecture that was not provided in these comments. And I didn't have anything specific that I wanted to say, but do other people agree with that?
I think generally we supported the architecture, of the building. We questioned the existing structure, but. that
Yeah, but it was also, I thought that I heard that people thought that it was well done, the proposal was well done. And I think that if we said that in the meeting, we should put that in here. So, proposal, architecturally satisfying?
Yeah,
How's that? Architecture is really all about the appetite. Okay. And on item number 6, 635 Orchard Road. Under public comment, there was a comment letter with, I believe it was 6 neighbors that were all supportive. I think we should mention that. And item number 3. One MBAR member expressed ongoing concerns regarding large, not long, expanses of glass. It's not the length of it, it's just the quantity of it.
oh, you're saying, oh, this is that, okay, I remember.
Just change, yeah,
That's that upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's all I have. Anybody else? I'd like to move for approval of the April 20th, 2023 MBAR minutes. as
I'll
amended.
second that.
Any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
One
abstention. Thank you, Chip. MBAR members informational briefings. Anybody go anywhere? Come back from New Orleans or anything? Anybody?
Nope.
I was not in New Orleans, by the way. What? I was not in New Orleans. Oh, I thought you were, okay. No, I was in Milan. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say Milano. It sounds like a good place. to
Okay,
go.
anybody else on item number Roman numeral 4? Roman numeral 5, staff update. David, Kimberly, please.
Nothing from me.
Nothing for me either.
Thank you very much. Okay, Montecito consent agenda, item number 1. It was Highway 101. I asked a question about some coloring on one of the walls and it was clarified, or not clarified, but it was explained that that's consistent with the rest of the project, of project 4, A, B, C, and D. And therefore Claire and I would like to recommend approval to the full board. To that extent, I'd like to move for final approval as submitted.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion, please? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Carried unanimously. Item C2. 21766 Sycamore Canyon Road. That was the one Kevin Moore had, and through staff mix-up last consent calendar, we left the landscape plans off. So we couldn't review them. They came back with them today. We reviewed them and thought that the project was fine. So to that end, I'd like to move for final approval of 21766 Sycamore Canyon Road as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please.
I
Carried
did
unanimously.
want to mention on item C1 that Elida had to recuse herself, if that matters,
Okay,
right, for the highway project.
yes or no, it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, let's get her recused so it's squeaky clean here. Okay, so item 1 on the regular agenda, 819 Ashley Road. We had a site visit today. We are on for conceptual review. William, the floor is yours, please.
Hi, I'm William Hefner. Carl Krass and Bob Irvine, who's on by Zoom, I think, hypothetically, and myself are the architects for the project. We're back to you after presenting last week for this previously approved project that the permit lapsed due to a change in ownership. And so we installed story poles, and I think almost all the board saw them today. And in reaction to a concern from the neighbor about privacy and visibility of the project, for us, it was helpful to see them, the proposal, and it was helpful to walk on the neighbor's site. I think, from our point of view, it sort of allayed any concerns that we had about privacy between the two properties. I mean, there is a second story. It's not visible from the house. It's only visible from the garage and the driveway. It's not visible from the area where the owners have coffee, but briefly on the pathway between the house and the coffee spot, you can see it. They have landscape on their side. I know they've lost a significant oak tree, which reduced some of the screening that's there. But we feel by the time the project's finished, the landscaping that they've installed there will hide the project from their site, which is important to us because for our owners, there would be a view of a driveway and cars and garage. So I think it's helpful. We are planting on our side hedge material to also cover about 4 or 5 feet above the level of the first floor. I wanted to also tell people that there's a misunderstanding. Initially, people understood that the media room was on the second floor of this, but the media room's on the first floor. There's a TV, and that's where the entertainment center is going to be. Upstairs is a gym and game room. The deck is important to the owner. The owner's written a letter to the board. The owner's upstairs deck is important to them because it has a beautiful view of the mountains, but it won't be it's not a party location. It's not adjacent to a noisy media room. There were concerns too about materials we have as part of the original approval and in current submittal, like warm tone stained wood instead of a a khaki or putty color and Santa Barbara sandstone. So the materials are intentionally set up to sort of blend with the landscape. And anyway, we feel it's helpful to see it. That's what I thought. Anything else I want to add? Bob or Carl?
William, do you want, this is Bob Irvine talking. William, do you want to also mention that the, all of the site work, grading and compaction was done with permits under the direction and approval of Santa Barbara County?
Okay, thank you.
Is that it? Is that the end of your presentation, please?
Yes.
Okay, so questions, please. Bill?
David, could you bring up that east elevation of that two-story structure? I was just curious about the windows on that side. Are they high windows? Maybe you guys can tell me.
There are 3 windows that fall on the stair and 2 windows that are in the rim. I believe the sill height's like 3'6" off the floor for those. Let's see, if you scroll up, I'm sorry.
Back
Up,
up, right.
Stop,
there.
yeah, right there.
Okay.
There are 3 windows in the stair. And then there's 2 windows upstairs in the gym.
And the, what's the sill height of those guys?
I think 3 feet or
3 feet.
3'6".
Okay.
And as I said, we'd be concerned about these because we're looking at driveway and headlights and probably more concerned than that.
And do you have any opposition to making them taller and smaller or anything like that?
It's not our primary view, so maybe we'd be open to it.
Okay. All right, that was all I had.
All right,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, questions, Tip, please.
Let's see now, this project was here a couple of years ago, am I right?
Yes, it was approved a couple years ago.
Tip, it was approved. They lost their permit because of no action. They had a building permit and they lost it because they did not proceed.
Right,
So it's just coming back to exactly the same project for reapproval.
correct. Yes,
Resubmittal, I mean, I think the project.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember seeing this. Okay, can I see the second floor for a second, please?
floor plan?
Yes.
You know where it is in the,
If you go one more sheet, you'll be up there. Yes. Yeah, so there's a stair up, there's a bathroom, and there's the gym and storage, and then the deck and the stair down.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Questions, Claire?
The other question I had, because it came up on the site visit, there's a deck off of this the second story,
Yes,
right? What is that deck being used? What's the plan for the owners to, how do they intend to use that deck?
I think as like yoga or, some adjunct space for the gym upstairs,
Oh, got it.
that kind of
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's not kind of part
No,
that designed.
the entertainment part of is downstairs.
That,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yes.
Questions, Robert?
I believe the board suggested either moving the second story or eliminating it. Did you study those
Consider
options?
regarding the second story and impacts to the surrounding neighborhood, consider eliminating second story. I apologize for not reading that earlier.
Okay, so, yeah, there were a couple of notes. When we went through the first approval process, there was concern from the neighbors on the western side of the property because the second story was proposed for there originally. And because of the grading, like sort of a steep downhill condition and the inability to screen as much on that side, we moved it to this particular side. It also was less visible from the road. Somebody raised the issue last meeting about if it'd be visible from the road. We noticed today when we're walking that it's not visible from the road either. And this program aspect is important to the owners. They wrote a letter to the board, which maybe we should read or that.
I'll
but-
read in during comments.
Okay, but anyway, it's and it's a very small second story part. So we feel it's important to the project.
Is that it, Robert, or do you have another question, please?
No, no further questions.
Dave, please.
What are the plate heights of the first and second floor?
Just one moment. Floor, so it's 10 feet. Yes. 10 feet first floor. And 9. Ten feet first floor. 12 feet first floor. 12 feet clear.
Not floor to floor,
Floor to ceiling.
floor to ceiling, please.
10 feet and 10 feet first floor.
10 feet first floor, 9 feet second floor. 9 feet second floor. And
Or 10 feet on the bottom.
yes. Does the second floor have a flat or a pitched ceiling on the interior? It's pitched. Given the concerns that have been voiced at the last meeting, in this meeting, have you considered lowering the plate heights for the 2 floors?
We haven't, 10 feet downstairs, given the size of the room below seems reasonable. We haven't discussed the second floor, but
Thanks.
Elida, please. Questions?
David, can we go to the landscape plan, please? Yes, there's a plate there. I think I can answer that because I reviewed it this morning again when I went back home. And there is a complete landscape plan. It's in the package. It's.
Did you have a
Can we
question?
go to the landscape plan, please, David?
Next up, I think.
there.
Right
There,
there.
Yes.
right there.
Mhm.
Okay, unfortunately, I was not able to
Can
come
you
this
speak
morning.
into the mic?
Unfortunately, I was not able to come this morning, but I spent some time this morning looking at this plan.
Mhm.
And the site is well planted as is. There's a lot of, you're lucky of a lot of existing trees and so on. From this plan, I can't tell what's existing and what is new that is being proposed to be planted. I got a little bit confused this morning.
So aside from the larger oaks, everything else is new. All the, lower, shrubbery and lower, there's no planting on the site really at the moment. Mhm. All right.
That was my main question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, these are, since my fellow board members have covered my topics, I have 2 technical questions. We have had comments about the reflectivity of metal roofs. It looked from the image you gave us that you're proposing a reflective metal roof. You have a comment about that, please?
Interesting.
From the material board that you gave us.
Right. I know I'm open to something non-reflective. We don't have a very light color. It's more like a gunmetal color.
Yeah, it's dark, but it's still
if-
reflective. It
if
looks
there's a-
reflective.
If there's a spec that would address that, I don't like the shiny roofs either, so.
And
we're
then
open to it.
similarly, I believe these are flat skylights,
They're flat skylights, yes.
and therefore they would also be shiny unless you put a non-reflective coating on them.
Possibly, yeah,
Please.
what do we have? One ridge skylight that's viewable, the rest of the things aren't really too much, right?
But you would
No,
be,
no,
you would be,
Sure, too. Yeah,
it would
we're
mix.
open to a coating, yes.
okay, thank you. Okay, so the general order is applicant makes their presentation, which they've done. We've asked questions. Now it's time for public comment. I have 3 public comments. One is the owner, which I will read unless they're attending and they'd like to address our board.
They're not able to be here tonight.
Okay, I have the neighbors here. I have something from Adele. Are you speaking for everybody today? And then there's, And then they have an attorney, Miss Wolf. I also have a comment letter from them. So Adele, can you come up to the mic, please? And I'm happy to give everybody time, but I am also going to restrict you to 3 minutes. So please tell me what you want to do with that. please.
Yeah, this will be really quick. I've been working with the Paninos since February of 22. And Mindy Wolf has been working with them for several months now. If I would appreciate it if you could read Mindy's letter
Okay,
to the public today and to the applicant. And that, because that brings up a lot of points that I won't have to mention. I would like to see if the board could request the applicant to study the second story element. At the site today and looking at the site plan, it looks like there are several opportunities to take that second story element and locate it down at grade level. And that would relieve kind of all of the concerns that my client, that the neighbor has about privacy and taking away some of their views. I think what you saw today, the hedges, there were some hedges that my client recently planted, and then there were mature hedges. Those mature hedges were planted in the early 80s. So if you're hoping that the newly planted hedges are soon going to be as high as the mature hedges, it's going to be a long time. And I know this board is very firm about saying that landscaping shouldn't be something that is going to mask or hide the architecture. It's there to really support the architecture and soften the architecture and give a transition from any public or private spaces. So my hope is that they're not going to look at newly planted hedges and with the anticipation that these hedges in 15, 20 years will be enough to screen a second story. There's a lot of, it's almost a 2-acre property. And I believe the comments that I heard today on site was that the FAR for this proposed project is clearly below the recommended maximum FAR. So if that's the case, I would think that there would be several opportunities to look at single story development for the site. Oftentimes we see projects that come in and they're either at or just slightly below the FAR. There's some second story elements, and then they'll go in at a later date. And we find that 800 square foot ADUs are put in areas that would lend itself to single story development in other areas of the site. So I just hope the board, and I hope the applicant has the opportunity to show you some further study of the development. Thank you.
thank you. So I have a comment letter from you and from your attorney. Is it sufficient just to read the attorneys? David, can you attempt to zoom in a little bit so it's maybe easier? There we go. Our office represents Joe and Gina Panino, owners of the property 855 Ashley Road, immediately adjacent to the proposed 819 Ashley Road project. My clients previously submitted their letter of concern and have asked our office to provide this letter with detailed solutions for consideration by your board at this week's site visit and hearing. One important historic project note is when it originally came before your board, this property, the most proximate and most impacted, was strictly used as a rental property, and the property owner was remote and disengaged in the review process. The MBAR minutes from your initial approval revealed the two-story element had originally been proposed in a different location, but feedback from the neighbors closest to the original plan resulted in the relocation in the current location closest to my client's property.
Are you planning to read the whole letter?
I am.
Well, I think we all read it, at least myself.
Did everybody read it?
Yes, I read it.
Everybody?
I already read the letter.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Is that okay that I don't read it then? it cannot be recorded because she was not at the mic. The applicant asked, could we address the color and the lighting? Okay, so I will close public. Is there anyone else that wants to address the board, please?
I just want to say thank you for showing up for the onsite that I requested last meeting. We really appreciate it. Gina and I are new residents, permanent residents of Montecito. We're very proud of Montecito, and we try to bring the best to it. So I hope you take this under consideration because it has a real big impact on what we're dealing with here. We moved here for a reason, for the serenity, the beauty, and just the general good community feelings. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being brief. Okay. Comments. We are on for concept only. Comments, Bill, please.
Yeah, so, obviously a challenge here that we're faced with. We've got neighbors we want to be sensitive to. I think that the second story element, in terms of the architecture is fine. The location in terms of privacy to the neighbors is a challenge. So, if the simplest version, could the plate be dropped on the second floor, certainly would help. If you could reduce the height of the media room, and understand that, certain functions of those rooms, the gym and the media room, you'd prefer higher ceilings. You've got an open volume on the upper level. What about the possibility of subterranean the media room? If it's a purely media space and you'd want sound to go crazy and you want to buffer it and everything, you could drop that maybe a half a level even. That might help. Barring that, the fact that its position in relation to the neighbor is facing the driveway, not a private front yard, not a private rear yard. And the road, certainly eases my concern about it. But in terms of being a good neighbor and trying to keep the peace in the neighborhood, my suggestion would be to try and look at ways to either drop it or move it. Certainly height, whatever you can do to get it down would be my suggestion. The rest of the building, I think you've done a great job. I think the landscaping is going to help. So those are my comments.
Chip, please.
Yeah, we've seen this project, how many years now?
I think originally it started like 6 years ago. It's been a long time.
Yes, and I think that we pretty much made all the comments about this project, went through several reviews and then, today at the site visit, and it's clear to me that if the hedging between the two properties mature to the same height as half of it right now, majority of the issue be gone, and I don't think it will take 10 to 15 years to the second half of the hedge to grow. I think probably by the time the house is completely built, the hedge probably reach another 5-6 feet because that's a fast growing hedging material. So I like what I see on site, and I don't think it's an issue, but I feel that maybe this is just a suggestion. I think that you probably can lower the second floor plate height a foot. It probably doesn't really change your design. I probably definitely wouldn't recommend you to put a low basement level for the theater. There's no need to do that. I think the second floor is very modest in scale, and I also would, if you can take a look at and reduce the size of the windows in the gym, make them smaller, because most of the views are toward the mountain, as you said, and not towards the hedge. So bring some light in or some high window for some light. But other than that, I'm fine with the design. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. Claire, comments?
I also was, had seen this project however many years ago it was. And this, what we see is the project, what we see now is the same project that was approved at that time. And I still find the project very approvable. And you know, the owners or the architect and crew in their landscape plan have proposed another hedge on their property, which I went back after being on the site visit to look at the landscape plan. And specifically, they also are putting up a hedge that is going to grow. And so we'll there, for the sake of the neighbors, there will be two hedges, you know, both of which will screen most of the upper level of what seems to be the complaint, the upper story of the yoga room or and there, you know, and from what I could see on site, looking from the neighbor's backyard, I don't think that this project is going to encroach in any way, shape, or form on your privacy once built. I don't think there's an issue there for me, you know, and, you know, when we first saw it, there was, you know, this is a brand new house, new owners, you know, the previous person who lived in the house, you know, they didn't have any problem with the project. So I'm ready to move this project forward.
Robert, thank you, sir. Robert?
I would agree, there's a lot of water under the bridge, not on Ashley, but, well, Ashley too, but on this whole approval process previously. I reluctantly would agree, although slightly disappointed we didn't get to see some to the second story location. I think the view from there would be better if it was on the west, but I heard your explanation about the west. And I also kind of agree with Bill, and maybe you could try a basement on the west that, because of the slope, would be kind of a walkout daylit theater room down there. But again, the project was already approved and I wasn't here. And, you know, I think we should just probably, you know, given the landscaping, I believe that I would be able to support it. That's it.
Dave, please.
Yeah, I think the story polls were very helpful today to review the concerns of the neighbor. I'm fine with the architecture. I think it's very nice. I think the materials are very nice. So the weathered cedar, non-reflective metal roof, obviously, those are all great. You also are farther from the property line, from the setback than is required, almost double the setback. So that helps. That all being said, it is visible. And to me, proportionally, that two-story unit relative to the rest of the house seems high. And certainly for a gym on the second floor with a vaulted ceiling, David, if you could go to sheet A3.03. From my perspective, there's definitely an opportunity to lower the plate heights in the roof. And to me, that we get to that section.
It's down. It's down from here.
A little bit further down. There.
There.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at that relative to the rest of the house, the spaces are relatively small and they're tall. So I would strongly encourage you to consider reducing the plate heights to bring the two-story structure down and maybe lower the deck a little bit too. And then along with that, come back to us with what kind of screening you're going to use and how long will it take to grow in, and then I can support the project.
Elida, please.
I'm gonna leave the second story to my building architectural colleagues, but I wanted to talk about the landscaping a little bit. I appreciate in looking over the plan that your hydrozone, high water use, medium and low is wonderful. That's a big benefit. And I think that the relationship of the amount of landscaping to hardscape and building is admirable. This will be consistent with Montecito. In a park here, it's wonderful. And the screening issue, I'm hoping that the resources there that have your client bring in some specimen boxes for screening, so your neighbors don't have to wait 15 years before that second line of hedging really works there. And that might be a suggestion to find the resources to get some good size hedging. Other than that, that's all I have.
I apologize for being out of order here a little bit. I forgot to ask a question. You have a central courtyard here.
Yes,
Can you see the mountains from there?
yes.
And what would you say is the relatively, you get 20%, 80%, 100% of the view of the mountains from the central courtyard as you do from the second story deck, given the fact that there's a hedge there, please? What would your assessment be, please? In terms of the availability of that beautiful north view.
You're saying the difference between the view from the lower level to the second floor?
Well, you have a seating area right there. I know it's, I think it's labeled lawn, but I know it's not grass in the middle. From there, looking up to the mountains versus the second story looking up to the mountains, please.
You get a better view of the mountains from above. You do, but you get just because of the tree line beyond, but you maybe get 70% of it from below.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I apologize for being out of turn. Okay, I was extremely surprised how tall that structure was when I got out there. I always learn something from site visits, and that's what I learned today. So I personally believe it's out of scale with the rest of the building. So I know we don't have the other pieces around it, but it just, from looking at the drawings, I've been at this business for a long time, it looks to me out of scale. What I heard, Bill, is it possible to lower the media room somewhat and therefore bring the whole area down? Tip okay, Claire okay, Robert, possibly move the media room under the bedroom wing on the west side. I thought that that was an intriguing idea. And therefore that would enable you to drop that, the second story at least somewhat to get a better view. Dave thought that the second story, I assume it's the roof that you're talking about, is too high.
It's the whole building massing relative to
too high.
the property line and relative to the rest of the house is too high.
And I tend to think that too. So, you know, we want you to have an excellent project. You know, we're here for excellence, not for trying to have people live small. So, but I think that the neighbors are correct that this is, you know, it's pretty tough that the one part of the building is viewed from their area. So having said that, I want to get a sense from the board. They're on for concept. Clearly, they want to move forward to preliminary and then rock and roll. So I've heard that two people unqualified, Tip Claire, can give this thing a, you know, let's go. I heard 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5. I'm not sure exactly where a light is. Say, is there a way to alter this? You know, to help. With that, what's your response here? Can you make a response, or do you have to go talk to your client before you want to say anything, please?
I mean, I can say something and then with the caveat that I need approval on it since you're not here, but I want to clarify one thing. Like, it's called a media room, but it's designed as it has like pocketing doors that open out to this covered patio with an outdoor fireplace. So that's really seen as one space. So if we sort of buried that room, it's really about sort of indoor outdoor living. It's not like a blackout kind of see a movie theater. So to recess it in some other part of the site or even there isn't great. I think we'd be open to lowering the ceiling and addressing windows facing to the east toward the neighbors. Because as I said, for us, I think it's a worse view than for them because it's driveway, it's headlights, it's somebody's garage, which is not, but it's the last thing you want to look at. I think we'd be open to those. As far as putting it somewhere else on the site, yes, we have 2 acres, but we have a sort of limited flat pad. We don't have that much room. There's really not space to sort of move the gym down and put it below. So I guess that's sort of where I think we would be within what might be reasonable to do, which wouldn't change the use too much.
So there's been several different recommendations here, but would it be so we talked about plate heights and we keep misnomering. The media room is downstairs, correct? And the upper level that goes out to the deck, that's the yoga studio.
Yoga and gym.
Right, that's what it's gonna be
Yeah,
used for. So it's
right.
a little small space and it's gonna be used for doing yoga.
Right.
And then they go out to the deck and look at the
Right.
mountains. So it does make sense to me to be able to lower that part of the total. I mean, lowering the plate heights for a yoga studio, you don't need a lot of headroom
Right.
necessarily, because mostly you're just doing yoga.
Yes.
So would it be possible just to lower the upper section 1 feet, 2 feet as far as the plate heights are concerned?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think we could. I mean,
Yeah, okay,
the-
okay.
Yeah, I think we
that-
could
yeah.
by a foot. I mean, below 8 feet it starts to get tighter for doors and the rest, but I think we could lower it. I think the other thing is, we could, given the loss of the tree next door, I think we could commit to some taller, like a specimen tree or 2 planting along that side. Because like I said, it's for our benefit. And I'm assuming with the loss of the tree, the neighbors are likely to do something too, because that was a big tree. So I think between those 2 things, that would help the situation. So I think
That
that's
would
what I
be
think.
in
Tip wanted to ask a question or make a comment.
It seemed to me like, that wing, the gym is, compared to the rest of the program, the house is a secondary space, not the primary. I would like to see perhaps we can do a straw quote that lower that wing by, let's say 18 inches, and however you want to do it's up to them. Lower 18 inches and then reduce the size of the windows looking now to the west. And see, we have a straw vote from the board, and then they can go in and do whatever.
And part of that too would be the screening.
Yeah, it's really, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to do a straw vote. If that's okay, so raise your hands. 18-inch lower roof. Eliminate or frost or get high windows or something on the east side. No other changes. Who can vote for that, please? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And screening.
And screening.
Okay, so,
I might add one more thing to that.
yeah,
Don.
please.
And I forget how the plan works, but maybe there's a way, again, to help reduce massing. Your stairwell maybe doesn't need the full height. Maybe you've got another way of jogging that roof line. Just something to think about. I know it's some architectural feature, but anyway, maybe not.
Okay, so we have no vote today because it's on for concept. But what it sounds like, if you bring back drawings that meet that specification, you're gonna get support. Please show this existing height on any revised drawings so that we can see what you did, dimension it, specify things, and I think that Elida's concept or comment about box hedging is a good one. So I think that that's going to help a lot. So there is no vote today. You will not be notified again just because of the process of the county. You have to keep your eye on the agendas. We'll be back. If you do not like what we want, when we make the next vote, when we make the vote, you can appeal it. But not today. There's no action taken today, okay? And it should come back preliminary and final. Are you ready for final?
Yes, we have a fully detailed set, so we could come back for both.
Okay, so come back preliminary, final. We'll see what happens. Is that okay with everybody?
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
yes, please. To add a mic, please. And fairly quickly, Adele, please.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought you were going to read Mindy's letter. One of the things that we had asked, the planner that let me see the plans, we looked at the lighting plan and there were two exterior sconces on the elevation facing the Panino property. And there were two lights on there. Most of the lighting on the lighting schedule was complete, but the plans that I saw, the light said fixture by owner, and there wasn't any specification and there wasn't any wattage. And I know that exterior light is bound to be dark sky compliant, but it's important for us to understand what that light fixture is going to look like. I mean,
So you want it to be a half cylinder or cylinder pointing down only with the light fixture very up high from the bottom.
yes, if at all possible, if you could understand this light
William?
fixture is going to be
Yes.
16 feet
Very good.
over.
It's
Thank
done.
you very much.
Thank you for bringing that up. Please make sure it's done correctly. Anything else, please? Thank you all. We're on to item number 2. The Brown Edition 2350 Bella Vista Drive. Tom Oshner, are you here? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so you are online. Okay, there is a memo from the planner, and the bottom line on this memo is Tom didn't quite get it right in terms of what the existing grade was, and it when we take the county's position on what the grade is, and the only person that matters is the county, he needs a modification for this addition that he wants to do. Is that more or less right there, Tom?
That's more or less right.
And therefore, what he'd like us to do today is to review the plans, and in particular, is it the east elevation, do I remember? Yes, primarily. Anyway, and to look at the elevations, and either we can approve it with the modification or we can't. We are on concept. So if David, can you go, please?
Have you applied for the modification yet?
No, it's with us. It's if the Board of Architectural Review believes it's for better design and
Oh, God.
consistent.
Oh, so it's not the land use modification.
It's us.
It's us, okay.
Okay,
It's in the
so
language.
Tom, not trying to take the steam away from you, but if you could take it from here, please.
Yes, absolutely. If we could go to the elevation, the east elevation showing the addition relative to the slope. I think we just passed it. Or maybe there was one. Go up a little bit.
Right
That'll work.
there.
We
And
zoom in on that.
David, it's the small addition on the right-hand side of that drawing. Where- David, do you see that on the right hand? What we're talking about is this guy right here. Okay,
It'd be good to show as well the existing.
and then show the addition, so, and he has been here before. We thought it was okay, I think, before.
Yep.
Is that correct, everybody? And then the planner said, no, not so quick, not so quick. So that's what we're back here for today. Tom, do you agree?
Oh, yes. So, yeah, I'm Tom Oxner, project architect. I just have a few comments. Your board has seen this before, but under the premise that it fit underneath the 16-foot height requirement. Now, if apparently it's not measured from the natural grade, it's measured from the manufactured grade. So I would just like to point out that the location of this addition is sensitive in the sense that it's pushed back against the hill. Although it is 21 feet, 8 inches high, I think you can see that an addition that was taller than that could actually be built from the existing grade, the way the county shows it, and it would actually have more of a presence from the downhill perspective. So if you were to take a 16-foot high mass and push it out to the edge of that bench, it would actually be much more visible than what we're proposing in the sense of pushing it back against the hill. So I think I'm suggesting that in the spirit of the height requirements, and for me asking for a finding here that this is in the spirit of the 16-foot height, that I'm suggesting that this complies and even exceeds the requirements of what could be added onto this house and still meet the height requirement. Thank you.
Are you therefore done, Tom?
I'm done.
Questions, Robert?
Is this hillside ridge line 16 feet or it's in the hillside overlay?
Okay, that's a good question. So this neighborhood was ultimately built out in the hillside ridgeline urban, which was a 25-foot requirement. And the homes around this meet the 25 foot. Since then, it's been rezoned and they've applied a new 16-foot height restriction, which really puts a lot of the structures non-conforming relative to height.
It's in the RMZ, so it's way up there.
Right, okay, so that's.
I mean, this was all done, all of this changes were done years ago.
The grade lines that you show here, I mean, is that off a survey? It looks incredibly steep on the downhill side and the uphill side.
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, and so just the little portion where it says addition is all we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, no more questions.
Alida, questions, please.
No questions, thank you.
Dave, please, questions.
No questions.
Bill, please, questions.
So Tom, just to clarify, the lines you have dashed there are not what the county is using clearly.
Yes, they are not what the county is using clearly. That was my old school way of looking at the origin of the intent of the hillside ridgeline, but apparently we use manufactured grade now, so it's still puzzling to me, but yes.
Well, I think maybe because it was after the fact, maybe that might be why.
But
So
that's a slippery slope that can keep growing then.
maybe so.
Mr. Chair, the language in the ordinance is existing grade. So in this instance, yes, the existing grade is a manufactured grade, but it is still existing grade.
Yeah, if it had been a new house at the time of development, then it would have been different. It would have been the line you showed, Tom, but since it's existing now that way, that's why. Got it. Okay, thank you. That was all.
Claire, please, questions.
No question.
Tip, please, questions.
No question.
And I have no questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2350 Bella Vista Drive, please?
No request for this item.
Very good. So I'll close public comment. Back to the full board. We are on for concept. So there is no vote today. Comments? Robert? Oh, would you read those findings for us, please? Can you find that? It's in the memo. What he's asking us to do is to adjustments. Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit more? Okay. Adjustments of development standards may be granted by the MBAR not to exceed other regulations if allowing greater flexibility would better serve the interest of good design without negatively affecting neighborhood compatibility or the surrounding view shed. B, the project is not within 100 feet of an ESH. C, drainage plans have been prepared which minimize erosional impacts. Indeed, the project includes fire retardant landscaping, all of which the planner said has been achieved. So given that, Robert, those are the findings that need to be made. What is your opinion about this project? Can you support it or not? Can you make those findings or not, please?
Well, I haven't seen a drainage plan. I think given the steep site, we're gonna need that for, you know, but,
Here for concept, they're all here already for
Yeah,
concept,
yeah.
So it don't have, there's lots
but
of-
given that the addition is much lower than the existing house and it's pushed back into the hill, I can support it.
Okay, is that it, Robert?
Yes.
Elida, please. Which item are we on? Yeah, comments, please. Elida.
No comment.
Dave, please.
Did we have public comment?
Excuse me.
Did we have public comment on this?
Yes, nobody. Did I have public comment?
You asked and there was none.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the site and I agree with Tom that the location of the addition is actually less impactful than it could be and is very appropriate for the house and these specific existing conditions. So I can support it based on good design and knowing that they'll come back with the drainage and the other issues resolved.
Claire, please. Comments?
I have no comments at this point. I mean, I think it's ready to go. I think the guest inside of the land use issues, that's been solved and I know the site, know the house and you know, a small addition to this house is not going to make any difference to the community as a whole. I think it's ready to move on.
Tip, please.
Yes, is ready to move on.
I would actually make a motion for preliminary right now.
Well, except it's only on for concept. So I also agree with it. I think this ought to go to preliminary final on consent. Does
Okay.
everybody agree with that?
I do.
Tom, make sure all the details and you've got all those little things, you know, the landscaping with the fire retardant, the drainage plan, et cetera, before you come, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3, please. Chris, you're here, I think. And I have just one speaker slip, number 3. Okay,
Chris's.
Chris, either make sure the mic is turned on, please. So this is 504 Hodges Lane. We saw it before. In summary, the bottom line is he took out the ADU, which dropped the FAR below 110. And he has 7 letters of support. So
Should we go home now?
no, because you're on for concept.
Good try.
Yes,
Well, you've been
later,
around
Chris,
there.
yeah.
All right. Anyway,
I
this,
do want to comment, because of your item, we now have a timing, your last time you were here, we now have a timing box.
it wasn't me that spoke. much.
Because of your item, I said. Okay,
Well, I
so-
take that as a positive
there,
event.
there you go. Okay, please.
Okay, here we are. So there's the site plan. The site at 504 Hodges Lane has mature oaks. It has a gentle slope from the upper northeast corner down to the southwest corner. Has homes on 3 sides and Hodges Lane on the west. Site's predominant views are to the south. Along Hodges Lane, there's a 3-foot stone wall. Our portion has 2 large openings. One 14 feet with pilasters, which is where our foot entry is, and the other 12-foot. These openings mirror the driveways across the lane at 501 Hodges Lane. There was some comment last time about the Juliet's openings here, and essentially ours mirror her 2 openings. We propose to maintain and modify the 2 openings.
The project presented today has an FAR of 97%, about 22% lower than what was presented earlier. The single-story dwelling is roughly 2,500 square feet, and the accessory building is 775 square feet. Compared to 9 other adjacent parcels in the area, the FAR for this project is at the median level. The 2 new buildings are located over the footprints of the existing buildings, thus maintaining the open vista of the oak trees from Hodges Lane looking north, south, and east. The accessory building located along Hodges Lane acts as a screen to the stepped-up terrace for the patio and provides acoustical and visual screening to indoor-outdoor living. On the north, the average dwelling setback is 14 feet, 7 feet at the garage. The diminutive scale of both buildings is expressed by offsets in the footprint and vertical stepping of the roof form. This quality lends variation and interest to the forms and creates a pattern of shadows, giving the project a dimensional quality. From my perspective, the character of the project complements and adds to the unique collection of homes in the Hodges Lane neighborhood. And there is no reflective roof proposed, and the elevations describe the exterior materials.
No, what about parking? Additional parking on site?
Parking has not changed. Parking as it was presented 4 weeks ago. There's 2 covered spaces up in the northwest corner in the garage. And then there's 1 uncovered space in the southwest corner that will be screened. You'll see with Chris's presentation of landscaping with landscape material and an existing fence that's there. And also, since the question was asked, if you look at the parcel to the south, immediate to our proposed uncovered space, it's lined with 2 concrete driveways, and that's where they keep their trash and recycle.
Okay.
And I didn't introduce Chris Kimball, who's here,
And we didn't have a landscape plan before,
and now we do.
and now we do. I do not think I saw it in our packet.
It was in there.
It was in there?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, do you want to take a minute or to chat with us?
Yes, hello. We go to the planting plan, L1, please. There it goes. Okay, what we're doing here is a Mediterranean drought tolerant type plant palette, obviously, to address the planting. There's an existing ficus hedge. I don't know if you've been to the site. There was an existing portion of ficus hedge to the east, and then portion of it to the south. And so I'm continuing that ficus hedge along the new parking that's down in that lower south corner. And same thing along the street frontage on Hodges. There's a portion of existing ficus hedges there that we will keep, and we will infill above that to the north with more of the ficus hedge, and then carry it across the pedestrian entry to be behind the existing stone wall, to carry that ficus hedge up there just to maintain the continuity. As you come in, there's 2, I don't know if Chris mentioned, there is an existing stone wall with a existing fencing that's to remain. We're going to infill a couple areas where there is no stone wall, so that will be continuous as well. We come into the pedestrian entry there between the existing columns, and it's a series of stone paving with gravel. And we come into the gravel terrace area there. That's a dining terrace. And we will have some fruitless olive trees and a new tree at the entry, will something like a cercis, just to provide some screening into the space from the roadway. Coming down into the pool terrace area, that will be stone coping. To the west, we'll have citrus trees in that planter. To the south of the pool, we'll do a dry stack boulder wall. There's a lot of boulders and rocks on the site we can use, just so we don't have a 3-foot drop off. To the east of the pool there's existing drainage, as Chris mentioned, that comes down and through the lower portion of the property. I want to do a dry stream bed to help accommodate that drainage and then disperse it at the bottom. We'll have a carex meadow below the pool area and some more fruitless olives down in there. A lot of gravel, gardens, potted plants, vegetable boxes as you move through the property. And then to the round to the east where the master is, we'll clean that area up. Have a lot of gravel, stone steppers through gravel, some stone seating areas, and then traverse through the narrow area onto the north. And we'll put in a new privet hedge to the east and the north as well.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you. Questions, tips?
I'm sorry. There's a next sheet is the plant material.
Excuse
L2, there
me.
you go.
Now are you done?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry if I cut you off. Questions, Tip? Claire?
Yeah, what is the, I know you said that there's some existing hedging there already.
Yes.
Where is the new hedging and what is the, what are you using for the new hedging?
Can you please go back to L1?
Yeah, she'd have to go back to there.
Okay, sorry. This is a portion of existing ficus hedge here, and then this will be new hedge, ficus hedge behind the wall to make that continuous.
So you're just gonna consistently carry the
Yes.
ficus all the way through for
Yes.
screening?
And this
Okay.
is a new ficus hedge, and this is existing ficus hedge, and then the new hedge that goes through here, I'm gonna use ligustrum.
Okay, so there is a change then. That's what I
Yes,
was
I'm sorry,
looking
there
for.
is.
So ligustrum is
Here,
that, and
yes,
that's all new hedging.
yes,
Okay. And then the other, on the other side of the property and down below, it's all ficus.
yes, because there's existing pieces, and this is all ficus. It's already there and doing well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Dave, please. Questions?
What are the materials for the paving?
We're gonna use stone paving in the pool area, stone paving at the apron. What? Oh, it'll be permeable. We're doing gravel as well. So we'll address that and meet those requirements.
But is it stone, or gravel or combination?
It's gonna be a combination. Mhm.
So around the pool, you have the coping that's stone and then it starts as gravel with stepping pavers or?
Yeah, this is all stone paving and then this is gravel and then this is all gravel around this area with stone steppers, yes, that lead the pathways through there.
Okay, and that's where there's gravel, it's permeable?
Yes.
Thank you.
Robert, please, questions?
No questions.
Bill, please, questions?
Yeah, Chris, down on the south parking there, Chris Kimple, that is.
Yes.
Chris's. You have 3 trees. Are those new trees?
Yes, those are fruitless olives to match the other 2 that are up in the gravel terrace. The oaks are really on the perimeter and on other properties, so we're staying right. So those are new. And the cercis, when you come through the pedestrian entry there to help just screen the views through when you come through that entry.
And then the reason I asked that is it looks like it's very tight there between what maybe is gravel paving and the neighbor's driveway. Is there ways to move that a little bit further away and allow for a little more screen between property lines there?
Yeah, I have about 2.5 feet there.
Is that enough to get a substantial hedge, you think?
We'll,
or-
we want a hedge there, so we'll look at that, what that distance, if we need to increase that a little bit.
Yeah, okay, that was it. Thanks.
Questions, Elida?
Chris, on the Hodges Lane side, the stone walls, what height there's some existing and some you're adding to, as I understand.
Yeah, it's the existing stone walls are 3'3" with a fence on top, and we're just matching that in the infill areas.
And then the overall height will be?
What's the fence height, Chris? The overall height was 6 feet, right? Yes, it's existing, so we're just matching and infilling.
Nice to see you.
Me too.
You done?
I'm done.
I continue to be concerned about parking. Form follows parking. It seems to me that there may be some opportunities around the pool where you could pull whatever that wall is, the hedging back immediately to the west of the pool to get a width for cars to be able to park on the street. Similarly to what happens down in the hedgerow quite a lot. And so that there is ability for people to come and visit without creating a traffic jam. Have you considered that? This is the question. And if yes or no, could you find a way to get more off-street, off-pavement parking so that the traffic can freely move in that area, please?
Well, so if I understand your question, you're suggesting that the existing stone wall, which is on the just off the street edge, be moved east? Is that
Yeah.
correct?
I used to have one that worked, but yes, so there it is. I'm looking at this guy right here. If it's possible to get some off-street parking all throughout that area. Now, I know the downside of that is every one of your neighbors wants to use your parking that you've given them. And so I understand the problem there, but this is a narrow area. Aren't you the first property or you're the second property? Second property. I mean, it's a pinch point here.
Let me respond to that.
Yes, please.
So just north of the property, north of the property north of us, there's a tight turn and cars slow down as they're heading towards East Valley Road. The pavement there is 16, 17 feet wide. The shoulder as it exists currently is more than ample for cars to park. On any given day, maybe an hour or two out of the day, you might see one car there. So first off, I don't think there's a great need for additional parking. More importantly, if you come to visit us on Hodges Lane, this stone wall with the fence, while it's quite provincial and simple, is very charming. And so what I think is being suggested is going to create either a awkward angle or an offset of that wall to create more space where I don't really feel more space is warranted. Of course, it's always nice to have more, but I don't think it's warranted here.
Okay.
Oh, may I say something?
Yes, please.
And Christoph and whatever, how do you do this? Well, where the pedestrian entry is being proposed, that's the existing driveway cut now. And we're leaving that all gravel. And I think there's an opportunity there for cars to pull off or use that as well.
It does not look large enough as you have it drawn now. And the question is, could it be made, can you actually put a car template in there, show how they back in, back out, all that good stuff to see that?
Yes, I think there's would be. I think it would work and I think we could show that absolutely.
The conflict though is that the county's not going to want to see parking in the setback.
No, they don't want to see required parking in the setback. Okay.
If that would be my question here, I mean, that's why I don't understand, I mean, have you met your parking requirements? They have, so I don't think that's my job at MBAR to be talking about telling the applicant to be adding more parking. I don't, for me, so I disagree with the context here, or the conversation, totally, that's all, okay?
We disagree, okay.
Yeah, I disagree with that, I mean, they.
You're a healthy committee. Dissension's good. You're a healthy committee.
Okay, so anything else before I ask public comment, please? We did get a letter of support from 7 people. I think Mr. Babbitt would like to come up and reiterate those 7 people again for support. Please keep it to 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So Bill Babbitt, I live catty corner to this property
before I address it, I didn't address it in the letter. We don't have 7 letters. We have 1 letter that I've corralled down, or 7 neighbors to corral
Right.
down to 1 letter. I didn't address that issue. That particular, I drive past that every day. And I think existing, we would all love to keep that vintage wall, and moving the vintage wall would be an issue. Second challenge in that area is outside on East Valley Road, there was a lot of debate with all the Pierre Lafond parkers. And so I would be concerned by adding more street parking. The Hodges and Periwinkle associations have been very outspoken with Pierre Lafond not to park along East Valley. And we've been successful. I'd be a little bit afraid of more parking right there on Hodges. I think if you drive by now, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of the widest section. On Periwinkle, we're very narrow, but on Hodges in that particular area, because this vintage wall is set back, I think you could have a truck and maybe even 2 cars passing each other in that particular area. I don't see it as an issue. And I think all 7 neighbors would concur that we'd rather see the stone wall. So on that issue, I have been battling a little bit of bronchitis. So if I could ask, maybe you could read the letter, I can fill in the pieces, or I can try it. And if I start coughing, then you can pick up.
Why don't you summarize it? You have 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Okay, so we are 7 surrounding neighbors. We have the neighbors who are directly on the north side and partially on the east side. The first 3 comments were in full support of the project. We're grateful for the project. The first 3 comments, A to C, we mentioned last time. So I'll just jump to, once we saw the new plan, item D, we are pleased and feel the buildings are sited well in the best possible location to minimize their height, given the requirements that would be dictated by the flood. E, we are pleased that we feel that the approach off East Valley along Hodges will be quite nice, with a view over the courtyard toward many established and more trees, rather than a view of what could have been a tall front facade with less openness, depth, and visible vegetation. We're pleased and acknowledge that the garage and studio are detached. Had they attached the garage, I'm summarizing, had they attached the garage, I think they would have gotten 800 square feet exempt. So the house could have even been larger. For all these reasons and those I've said, we support the project.
Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else, please, that would like to address the board? Okay, closing public comment. We are on for.
John, I have a hand raised.
Excuse me. Yes, sir or ma'am?
Mitchell Kaufman.
Mitchell, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Mitchell Kaufman. I've been a resident for nearly 20 years, and I'm one of the signers on the letter. And just to reiterate what Bill Babbitt said, you know, that area on Hodges, for the time we've been there, has been a bit of an eyesore. And this is a welcome enhancement to correct the shoddy appearance. I recognize that it's not necessarily in keeping with Juliet's property on the other side, which is very concrete. However, the design is well in keeping with the houses going further up Hodges, and as well as the homes on Periwinkle. And so it has our full support, and we hope that you'll approve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else, please? David?
No additional speakers.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment. We are on for concept today. Tim?
I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier, and I just sitting here and it just dawned on me that I actually own property across the street from the project. And I completely forgot about it.
You need to step in.
So I guess I
No comment.
Sure.
Right, stop
We'll
talking.
see you when the item's over.
Welcome to Montecito. Okay, Claire, excuse me. Yes, Claire.
I have actually more of a question, especially because it comes into, it came to mind for me when we started talking about parking. Where are you proposing to use your where are you going to put your construction parking? When this is being built, where are all those people going to, all those trucks and things? Where are they going to hang out?
Pierre Lafond. So
I know, that's why, that's kind of all of it's all coming together here, you know.
Thank you, John.
You know, is that this is a completely, you know, but that
That's a logistic.
the complaints
Well,
that we
let-
have.
Let
in
me say
Montecito.
that it's likely Giffen and Crane will be building this project, and they come up with excellent solutions to those types of problems.
Got it. Yeah, okay, fine. That was, I just, because when we were talking about parking, then all of a sudden went, well, where's all the construction parking gonna go? Yeah, sometimes we actually require it to be shown. That's why it came up for me.
Dave, please.
Yeah, I think with the changes, I can definitely support the project. My one concern is just the amount of paving. If I squint my eyes, the amount of green is relatively small to the rest of the project. So I would encourage the applicant to consider reducing the width of some of those gravel areas and providing more landscape, but I can support the project.
Robert, please, comments.
No, I like the project. I like the informal kind of random siting of the buildings and I support it.
Is that it? Okay, Bill, please, comments.
Yeah, I can support the project. Again, I agree with Dave to a certain degree, maybe reducing the amount of paving and if you can scoot that south driveway up to the north, then get a little more buffer there between the two driveways, that'd be great.
A lighter, please.
I looked over the plant palette and it's a nice palette, Chris. That's wonderful. You have my three most favorite trees between the arbutus and the cercis. And then of course the olives. It's a nice project. Congratulations.
I continue to be concerned about parking, if for no other reason, without review and with terrible inconsideration to neighborhoods. The state allows ADUs and they always have at least one parking, the ones that actually use it. They can't be in the front yard setback, but if there's a place for them to do it, they may even be, they probably are exempt because there's public transportation in that area. We learned that from Dan Claus on his project, just on the other side. So I think that maybe right now it's not a problem, but without our review, without anyone else's review, I think we can get ourselves into trouble. And so I would just like to see if there's a way that we could get parking that some of those potential projects might have. Besides that, I think the architecture is very nice. Chris Kimball, I think that the comment about maybe greening it up a little bit, you know, and that might be able to be accomplished with trees as opposed to shrubbery. And, you know, you get a lot of cover. It's very Mediterranean to have the gravel down below and the trees up above. So anyway, what do we want to do with this next? We're on for concept. It's very clear to me that the board wants to bring this back to preliminary or preliminary final. Should we do that at the full board to make sure it's all done? I don't think it's ready to get to consent yet. Do you agree with that? Too much to do still?
Yeah, let's do preliminary final.
I-
Full board.
What did you say?
Preliminary final, full board. Yeah.
Yeah, preliminary final full board. Okay, thank you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, John.
Okay, item number 4, please. Brian, are you with us, please?
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone. Brian Banks, agent
Okay.
for the owner, Claudia Plata. And we also,
1278 East Valley Road.
yes, and we also have Roston Thomas online here, who's the design build contractor. And yeah, photo mapper's perfect. And then photos next. Perfect. You got it in the right order. Let me know, John, when you're ready and I'll take you through.
Go.
Okay, so your board is probably familiar with this property. It's an interesting one. This lot is located between Hot Springs, Mount Carmel, and then Para Grande. It's near where the fire department's doing their, employee house there on the south side. You'll see in the southeast corner, that roof area, that is a 1912. And if you go to the next photo, we'll just orient you. Now I think you'll all recognize the property. That is a 1912 old, I probably was like the chauffeur's quarters back in the day, with a garage below and an apartment above. That structure actually sits on its own APN, which is why there are two APNs referenced in the agenda description, but it is part of just one legal lot. And you'll see on the left-hand side of the photo there, the driveway entrance, that's actually an easement that is not on our property, but is for our use. And given the size of the property and the constraints that you'll see as we go through the plan, that is a really, really huge part of the potential success of laying out this project is to be able to utilize that easement. If you can go down just a few more photos there. So there's the photo looking south back to East Valley along that easement. Essentially on the left-hand side, that's kind of where the property line begins, where the grass starts, correct? And you can see kind of buried in the trees back there towards that utility pole. That's the existing garage studio building that we're to the right of, just to the right of, yeah, it's kind of buried in that cluster there. Photo below, just again, another shot straight from East Valley. And I think we got one more sheet. And so there's viewing east to the neighboring property and then viewing south from kind of the back property line. And so now that you're oriented, we can go to next, the plan. There you go. This one's a bit interesting on the FAR side of things as well. The proposed home is modest in size. It's about 2,300 square feet, below our maximum. But because of our DAB factor, we have to apply that existing garage, 1912 garage studio to the FAR. So it looks like we're well over. But if you kind of think about the context of just the house and the attached garage, we would be compliant. And so I think next sheet, please, we'll give there you go. So survey, you can see there the existing detached structure there and the easement off to the left, the west-hand side, the paved portion of the easements in the kind of splitting right down the middle. So you can see, I think in total, our actual lot area, including the area of the APN of the existing detached structure, we're about 0.22 of an acre. So it's a pretty constrained site. You'll see on the next sheet our proposed layout. So we're going to orient ourselves here 90 degrees, East Valley being on the left-hand side. You'll see at the bottom left corner there, our existing accessory structure garage studio above. Thank you. And then you'll see our layout. So our attached garage on the west side, so we'll take access from our easement that will allow us to pull in and back out and so forth. We have the footprint. It's all a single-story design. We have a footprint shown there, and then we have a proposed pool and little barbecue area. So kind of like a little interior courtyard area there. We don't have landscape engaged yet. We wanted to get early feedback from your board, and we also are engaging an arborist. We do have some oaks there, but we wanted to see how it went with this meeting before we formally engaged them and got them moving and moving on to civil plans. So next sheet, again, floor plan oriented, East Valley being on the left. Pull into our garage. We've got a little entryway there. Fairly compact, fairly modest, L-shaped there to get a little private courtyard in the middle, and then the pool not shown on this obviously will be towards the rear. That deck that's represented in the lower portions and around, that's likely going to be like a wood or a wood-like material, less than 30 inches from grade, so we would be allowed to encroach into the setback as long as we keep it less than 30 inches. May need a little room there for some screening, but we'll get into that when we get our architect or our landscape architect engaged. Next sheet, just simple elevations here. We do have a color board we'll get to at the appropriate time whenever you'd like to do that, but fairly straightforward there. Next sheet are the additional elevations. And then if we wanted to, I don't want to move too quickly, but just to orient you on the materials, we can click on the next file there, the material board. So, you know, a smooth finish, stucco, engineered wood, and anodized doors and windows, some trim there, and then just some, we're thinking just a stone pattern for ledge stone for the fire pit and pool. Like I said, we kept it light here. We want to get that feedback from your board here at the conceptual level. And that's our presentation. Rostin, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that we're just looking forward to working with all of the decision makers and in the community to make sure that that our project is well received and an enhancement to the community. That's already a great opportunity for us to really enhance the community with this project. So we're looking forward to moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess I'll just add that, you know, if we wanted to go back to the photo, see, it's such a unique property that if you look at it and you go up and you look at it from the East Valley side, probably if you go up, it's very well screened. And so it's one of these properties where this house would be built. I don't know that you'd ever see it. So with that, I'll end there, and then we're happy to answer any comments or questions.
Questions, Dave, please.
No questions, John.
Elida, please.
David, can we go to A1, please? Am I to understand that that's perimeter screening is existing and in place, and if so, what the material is?
Elida, no, we're trying to represent what we will be coming back with essentially will be just a property screening. Some of it exists, some of it does not, and we'll be infilling and likely won't be a heavy landscape project because frankly, we don't have a lot of room on the East Valley side, and we can't really screen on the easement side. So it would likely be focused in the rear area around the pool and kind of the open area.
Dave, can you go to the rendering, if you had to give this architecture of, for lack of a better word, theme, are we talking contemporary, or are we talking ranch, are we talking traditional? How are you?
I'm definitely going to leave that to Rostin.
I think it would be more of a contemporary modern look is what we're looking to move forward with.
Contemporary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Claire.
Whoever. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. This is a great one we've got right in front of us. Oh, no, it's not this one. Where is the one right after this or before it? I don't know. Oh, this one. Yeah. Okay. I don't quite understand how the materials are working. And so the speckle is, I guess, that's going to be the stucco, right? The smooth finish stucco. Okay. Now, what are the ones the lines with the windows atop of it? To the left of this picture. What is that material there? Yes, that material. What's that?
That is siding.
That is siding, and that is going to be the wood.
Like a hardy panel.
Engineered. Okay. And what is the trim around the windows?
The trim around the windows is the steel. The Corten steel, you see that?
Steel.
Yes. To give it some rustic look.
Okay, that's at my end of my questions.
Questions, Tip. Do you own a house near here?
the front door is coming from EVR. And then the existing building to remain,
Correct.
Correct.
and that's going to be a part of the project.
Well, the goal is it's a legal non-conform. We actually had to do a planner consult because I couldn't answer the questions when we were doing our due diligence investigation. And it turns out because of the way that the ordinance works, that legal non-conforming structure can remain. And so we intend to just kind of leave it. It's a functioning little studio. It's a small little unit, but we're just gonna leave it there.
And what's the intention of the zoning between the garage and East Valley Road, new garage?
We've got some pretty large oak trees. So if you look at the photos, that's just kind of an informal little patio open space area for the tenant, whoever resides in that building. So I think the thing, and we don't have our landscape architect engaged, but I think likely that'll just kind of remain. It's just a little, kind of, I think there's like a barbecue out there and some patio chairs, that sort of thing.
It'll be an entry courtyard.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you. Bill, please. Question.
Yeah, is there any, I don't think there's any houses that are looking down on top of your roof in any location. You aware of that?
No.
No.
There is not.
Okay. And you said it was a separate APN, but it is still connected to this lot. Is that right?
It's a strange this is a strange one of those classic Montecito estate carve outs back in the day. And so, there's a little APN, you can see it there in Photo Mapper, that just literally just includes like the footprint of the existing, garage studio guy. But if you look at the lot, that whole rectangle in total from a legal lot perspective, it has a certificate of compliance from back in the day. And so it is all one legal lot.
What's the purpose of the raised wood deck? Are you in the flood zone there? Do you have to raise the finished floor up or do an underfloor flow through kind of a thing? Or what's the reason for the deck versus just a patio on the perimeter?
It's more of, it's a design feature, and also we have a lot of doors and windows. So it's being able to step out into the deck to be able to go around to the pool area and so forth. So it's kind of unifying the house or giving it more like a hug so that people can go through the various spaces and be able to access the area of the pool and the barbecue area.
And then the way that is drawn there, it looks like that tree line is on the neighbor's property as well as the stairway. Am I misinterpreting?
If you go back to the survey, I think it's the second sheet, you can kind of see it's one of those classic meandering fence situations there. Yeah, you can see the fence and then the property line.
So, but are you proposing new planting on the neighbors, or is that planting that's already there?
The
planting, sorry to interrupt, but the planting right now is more representation, as he stated before. This is Marcos, the designer architect. Right now, we just kind of did that as a placement holder until we actually do the actual landscape plan.
So do you have any room there on your property to put landscaping between that deck and the?
Yes, there is. We have a 7'6" setback. So therefore, there'd be some sort of vegetation and obviously the deck at that point. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not in the flood zone.
No, not in the.
And I was having a little trouble trying to decipher the elevations there. You show a garage door facing the front, yet the door on the plan shows it. So that top elevation, is it the south elevation? Is that not correct? The garage door is on the same plane as the, not same plane, it faces the same as the entry door, but in your plan, it shows it on the other wall. Is that Am I missing something there? Do you see what I'm saying? Hello?
I think you're, excuse me, I think you're referring to sheet A5.1,
Yes,
the top photo.
yes.
Yeah, I believe the door you're seeing there is a door that's adjacent to the garage door but on the easement side of the house.
So is that not the entry door there then?
If you look,
So if I look at that elevation, I was having a little trouble trying to match the elevations with the. Isn't that your front door there on that south elevation?
Yeah, I think you're right, Bill. If you go to floor plan, I think I don't think we're showing that right. So if you look at floor plan, then you could see
Yeah.
looking from
Yeah.
that elevation.
So anyway, those are gonna need to be updated, I think.
I think that's the window there,
exactly.
adjacent to the garage.
Yeah.
Noted, I believe the elevations weren't updated to the floor plan. There are current elevations that depict the actual floor plan.
Got it. Okay. All right. That was all I had. Thank you.
Questions, Robert?
Brian, is there a historical report for that existing building?
No, we don't. We haven't got that far yet. The intent here is, and if we need to do that, we will. But the intent here is we're just going to leave that existing accessory building.
That was part of a historic little community. I think you better get that done because I know there's a lot of significance to that neighborhood, what's left of it. Also, if you go to the site plan, just scroll up a little bit. How much distance is there between the new building and the old building? And are there setbacks because it's on its own parcel? I mean,
It has to be 10 feet. I think we've got it drawn at 10 feet per code. But there are, in terms of setbacks, that whole building is within, as you can see, the required front yard setback. So that's why we have to have the proposed residence comply, but that existing structure remains as legal non-conforming.
I'm just curious that the new building is crowding the old building so closely, and the difference in architecture is extreme, and was curious what's in that gap, so to speak. But anyway, that's all for my questions.
Thank you. Okay, Brian. You have a U-shaped house with a central courtyard, which pushes the perimeter walls right out to the setbacks and leaves almost no ability to have landscaping out there because of that central courtyard. The question is, have you studied a plan that enables you to integrate the building to the perimeter of the property so that greater landscaping can occur? Please.
John, the answer to that question is no. We kind of backed into this based on the easement, since that's such valuable space, since our lot itself doesn't have a lot of space. So we were kind of orienting everything to how we would get into the garage and access the property. But it's a good comment, and we will study that.
If I remember correctly, Jeff Shelton designed a house across the street and across the creek. It was on a 0.18 lot. I thought that he was the smallest, and so far, if you're a 0.2, he continues to own that smallest lot award. But he chose to do a 2-story house, at least in portions, and it's now behind a hedge, and you cannot see that thing, even though it's 2 stories, enabling the woman, as it turns out, that lives there, a lot more ability to enjoy the landscaping out there. Have you considered bringing at least some of the property, some of the usable functioning up to a second story so you can have more of a usable yard, please?
Yeah, John, that's a great comment. And as a planner, that was my first instinct, just given the constraints of the lot. But the owner's preference, and we can study that, the owner's preference is this is essentially going to be as a retirement home and the forever home. So we were really looking at single level living. But that is a good comment, and we will think about that.
Okay, public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on 1278 East Valley Road, please?
No request for this item.
Okay, comments. Dave, please.
Yeah, first off, I'm really pleased that you're saving that existing non-conforming structure. To me, I've driven by that for many, many years, and yes, it's just always intriguing to. I just like it. And I think it's kind of part of the history of Montecito. I think, mass bulk and scale, and in fact, if this lot isn't visible, I'm fine with the building design. My concerns are the proximity to the setback and the landscape screening, which appears to be running off your property. It's not clear to me if that's existing or new. So I think the next time around, we really need to see a more thought out landscape proposal showing the actual screening, because that proposed deck is very close to the property line, and I question whether there's enough room to get adequate screening. But overall, I like that you're saving the existing historic structure, and the new structure isn't going to be visible. So I think you're going in a good direction.
Yeah. Alida, please, comments?
My comments kind of go along with Robert's. This looks like the architecture, it's cobbled together architecture, and that's giving me some pause. Given the existing structure that's to be kept and the thoughts about the new construction, it just concerns me. It looks kind of cobbled. It's my comment.
Claire, please, comments.
First of all, this was a really hard project to understand. I mean, I looked at it and I couldn't figure out what was actually going on until today, when you explained to me that the building has nothing, the existing building that's on East Valley is going to remain. And I went, whoa, okay. I mean, I just couldn't tell from your presentation and from your drawings that was going to stay, and it's all on a very small lot. And so when you come back, and I guess this would be a comment for the builder, because we don't have a designer or an architect on this, could you kind of make it more friendly? I don't know what to say. Yeah. I mean, I can't quite figure out how this building is going to look. And I think it's because the way it's drawn and it's kind of laid out and it's sort of separate from the environment and all of that. So that's the only comments I really have, is that the building looks to me to be too big for the lot. That would be the only way I could really explain myself on this, is it covers the entire lot, and it corner to, the whole thing. I mean, setback to setback, it pushes out too. And so I think the building itself may be, for me, too big for the small amount of area that has been allotted to it.
Comments, Tip.
So Claire, actually, this building has a designer. So, and actually, it's designed, if you can see the logo designed by Mr. Marcos Anaya. And he actually a classmate of mine from Cal Poly in 1980s.
Oh, so it does have, I mean, well,
Yes.
because as it was being presented, it was a building.
Right. Well, I just realized that, so yeah, because, so just put on record,
Yeah.
it was designed, by, yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
So
okay.
anyway,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with anything, but
Right.
solve the puzzle.
Thank you for sharing, Chip. Now, do you have any comments?
Do you have any other comments?
No. This is Marcos.
Hey, Marcos.
Okay.
So feel free to criticize
Feel free to
or give productive.
So anyway, I think I agree with most of the comments from
Okay.
Mr. Mandro, and I just have some general observation.
Okay.
One thing I noticed is that, when you drive by this block 1278, 1200 block of East Valley Road, all the houses, both are smaller lot houses. And somehow they are facing East Valley Road. That's how you approach the property, all the properties. So when I look at this, I think that the way it's laying out, it's workable, but it seemed like it probably how you connect the front door. That pretty much, I think, if people come to visit you, they probably don't pull into the driveway. We park on East Valley Road and we go in. That's what happened to a lot of houses along, this block of East Valley Road. So I find it's a little bit not very clear in terms, unless the landscape plan really addressed that issue on how you approach the front door. And then it's almost like when I first looked at this site plan, I think the front door is the courtyard. Because you go down the driveway, you see the garage, and then you go into that, but then you see the pool. So I believe that, and then, I do agree that somehow the distance between the building facing East Valley Road and the existing and the main house very close. And that a lot of them had to do with how the landscaping will evolve and what the best way to lay out the site to maximize, the general layout of the whole site. So I have a little concern about how everything laid out, but however, the interior lot, it cannot be seen. And because of that, it's not as important as if it was facing East Valley Road. And if you can do a small two-story, that would help you. But I think the main thing is to come back next time with a good landscape plan and see how you can solve the circulation and how the flow of movement through the site. Thank you.
Okay, so Bill, please, comments.
Yeah, I think I remember Marcos.
You too.
Yeah. Anyway, I agree with the board's comments, but I think it would be great if we're going to go with this plan is to see how that existing structure in elevation works with the new. And I think it's going to feel very tight there because that's a two-story kind of crammed up against the face of a single story. So I'm kind of on the fence with what John's leaning toward is it'd be nice to get, if you're not going to match the style of the architecture of that building, you're so close. It'd almost be better if it was separated by some distance and landscaped and screened away so that you didn't need to make the connection, but it's so close it feels like it should have a connection, or maybe you're tying some of the materials from that existing structure, whether it's the wood siding or the color or something, and that's the wood siding that you're using on the new house or something, some kind of context there. The deck area on the west side there, I'm not certain that that's really effective. I could see why you'd want to have, maybe you could have decks that go to then step stones, and that would allow you to have some planting area, because I think it's getting real tight on some of those corners there where you're turning.
West side or east side?
East side, sorry, yeah. Also, I noticed it looks like the pool equipment's in the setback there, so we definitely want to see how you're screening that noise from the neighbors in the back of you. I like the style of the architecture of the main house there. But I think my concern, like I said, is, it's so close to the existing structure that, it kind of, I think if you show those two again in an elevation together or a 3D model or something, it might bring some truths to everything that we're looking at here. So, and then of course, correcting your elevation so that they kind of tie in with your floor plan. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Robert, comments?
I kind of agree with Bill on all that. The other thing I'm somewhat concerned about is just the general access, entry and parking and, getting back to our last project, I mean, where would guests park here? Do you really want the front door off East Valley competing again with that existing building? Would it be better to have the entry off the courtyard, which has been done successfully on a lot of nice homes? Maybe maintain some privacy and noise control, because East Valley is very, very busy road, especially these days with traffic problems we're having. But again, parking and access and the front door and the two competing buildings so close together are my concerns.
Is that it? On a small lot, I would expect a solution that is as efficient as possible. And when I see this hallway where this whole area could be one main area that then you walk through and go into the bedrooms, or maybe there's a very small hallway and then you just jog left and jog right into the small rooms. But a way to get the main living area back here with the pool in here, which you are permitted to have in the setback, and you start tightening up this project so you don't have as many exterior walls. Now, if you're absolutely married to an interior courtyard, what I'm saying is irrelevant. I'm questioning whether or not that's working for you. I think you can gather this outdoor space and this outdoor space and consolidate it so that there's more enjoyable space that's works more as a unified whole. Now, is this an approvable project? It is awfully tight across this side, hitting these setbacks, and with this walkway over here, it's unclear to me why we have that. It, in a sense, it says to me that the plan has not been fully thought out. If there was a deck here with a bunch of furniture that looked out into some enjoyable something or other out there, yes, but it seems like a dead end. So why do we have that deck, and why is this all crowded off there to these sides? So I would encourage you to do a fairly important reconsideration of this plan and see if you could use the word efficient as sort of as a calling card for this project. When you were asked about the style of house, the word that came to my mind was Usonian, which I guess we probably haven't had enough years yet to make that desirable. But and also Eichler oftentimes had a central courtyard, but I don't see that his cleverness has been brought into this design yet. And I would like you to study some of that mid-1900s, 1950s architecture, because they were really masters at maximizing livability and minimizing exterior walls, etc. And I personally think those homes were very, very nice. I lived in two of them when I was younger. So they worked very well for a family and also I think for people that are ending, that are closer to the end of the life than to the beginning of their life. So, okay, so we want to see this back for concept, I assume, everybody? Okay, anything else that anybody wants to add? Okay, Brian, thank you.
Thank you for the concise comments. Appreciate it, everyone.
Okay, very good. Item number 5, again, Brian, you're with us for 327 San Ysidro Road, please.
Yes, I'm still Brian and I am still the agent for the property owner. We're just gonna relocate ourselves here. The closest landmark would be MUS. This property abuts MUS. To the south, we have Tim Campbell, project architect here, and fairly self-explanatory. When we get to that, when we get to the site plan, we'll walk you through it. Flag lot, existing residence and pool and a cabana structure. Flag lot here again, the northern property line abuts the MUS property the MUS property that has the residence and they put all the parking on it and the solar panels. So that's our immediate northern neighbor. And fairly self-explanatory. Tim will take you through, but the only thing that will remain is our little accessory structure you'll see there on the right-hand approach to the driveway, just north of the driveway as you enter the main body of the property. All single-story design complying. I think we're right at our FAR. I think we're 1% over, and I think that was just because we wanted to get a little more garage area, and that might have bumped us up that 1%. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tim for the presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Tim Campbell. I am an architect in Los Angeles and New York, and my clients asked me to design a second home for them. The first home that I'm building for them now in Los Angeles is an Art Deco style, and of course, everybody loves Montecito, and they wanted an Art Moderne style home here in Montecito. So if we can scroll through the presentation, perhaps go to the next page. This is our existing survey. Let's go down to our site plan. Next page, please. So we have a site that is surrounded by existing mature landscaping, which we are keeping in its entirety. There is a ravine to the west, the school to the north. And so we've taken great pains to site the house, the one-story house in the middle of the property, really to give the building a park-like setting and to kind of hunker it down. This lot sits lower than the lot to the east of us. And so we don't look over or into anybody's adjacent properties. We've taken great pains to, again, preserve all of the mature landscaping and give you a very cohesive architectural style, a very beautiful Art Moderne style with windows and doors by Steelworks, very high quality. If we can go down to the color elevations, I think probably to give us a better sense. The building sections were under our height, so we don't have any controversy there. If we can keep going, please. Here we go. So again, very Art Moderne, very horizontal and in figuration, and a very simple palette of stucco and steel windows. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
David, there's another set of colored elevations. I think it's not that one right there, just so we have it all.
Yep.
Okay.
Can we see the floor plans?
Yes. Go back up, please. One more sheet. There we go.
You okay there, Tim?
Yes.
And so we'll just segue right into questions. Tip, please.
So this is the brand new house, residence, 1 story. And what is the height, for?
Tip, at the highest parapet, it's 23 feet.
Can we see that? Which one is 23 feet?
You can go to the non-colored, there you go, and we also have sections.
So the central portion goes to 23 feet and the balance of the house is closer to 18 feet.
But if it's a 1 story or 2 story?
It is a 1-story house.
So not a 2 story, but the front entrance, around the middle, that's 23 feet tall.
That's correct.
And what is the height of the rest?
The height of the rest is at about 18 feet.
And what's the ceiling height for the interior spaces?
Ceiling heights for the interior spaces vary between 12 and 14 feet, depending on the scale of the room. We have a mechanical plenum above our ceilings so that we can conceal mechanicals and that. So there's a parapet roof but our roof sets down below the 18 feet or the 23 feet portion.
Can I see the color version, please?
Yep, those are further down.
Oh, matter of fact, zoom into elevation section. Yeah, that'd be great. Can I?
Yeah, this is a good section to look at. This is
Okay, so it's 23 feet in the middle and down to 18 feet to the left and to the right.
correct.
And what's the FAR?
We're at 101, Tip.
101. And what's the FAR of the current house that you're removing? Same?
Actually, hold on, let's see what we had here. Yeah, the existing is about 4371 with a less than 800 square foot garage.
And 3-car garage.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I have.
Bill, please, questions.
The site plan, Dave. So where is your cut happening? Are you creating a flatter pad?
No, there's no cut. It's we have an existing flat pad. We're not changing the pad at all.
Oh, it says 600 cubic yards of cut. I'm just reading.
I like to do a healthy crawl space underneath the house again for mechanicals and just to keep moisture away. So we're removing a little bit of dirt for that so I can have more than my minimum crawl space.
And we do have a retaining wall on the east side there to allow our driveway to get through there. You'll see. There's a little bit of cut for that retaining wall.
Is there retaining walls on either side of the drive there as you come in then too, or?
No, the flag lot or the driveway on the flag lot, it's completely flat to the south. The slope drops down because the house to the south of us that shares the flag lot is a little bit below us. But there are no retaining walls on either side of the driveway.
And you've run this by fire department already. Looks like you've got a hammerhead, but you're extending beyond well, I can't tell what those walls are flanking the entry there. Is that?
That's a preliminary landscape just showing hedging material, low hedging.
Oh, okay, hedge plant material.
Yeah.
And what is the square? I think you called it out as mechanical there. Is that out of the setback? It's on the right side of the driveway just before you pull into the garage.
That is mechanical, yes.
Is that out of the setback too?
That is, yes, that is within the building setback.
Yeah, I can answer that more precisely. This lot had a building envelope that was applied to it when it was subdivided. And you'll notice on the existing survey or existing site plan, the pool was somehow built outside of that. And we're going to demolish the pool and comply with the building envelope with this proposal.
And could you zoom in, Dave, that right at the corner there where the driveway is turning just this side of the hammerhead? What is that in there? Is that an existing structure there? Is that where
that is the existing 1-story structure, yes, to remain.
And then there was another something down the road there, down the driveway, or that's
no, that's it.
No, that's the piece that was.
Yeah.
That's existing.
Building, there's a building above the property line, but that's not on our property.
Okay, down by the street there, the main road. There's, okay. Yeah, go to the right, Dave. Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's parking.
Yeah, it's just parking.
Okay. And that's a shared driveway, and then you've got a new gate and pilasters or something, which you'll.
At our,
show us
yes.
On point, okay,
Yes.
all right, that's it, thank you.
Robert, please, questions?
What is the context of the neighborhood? I mean, is there any neighbors that you're gonna have that can see this property, or I don't know if we need to go back to the aerial or Google map. I'm curious. Where,
Robert, if you go to, we can do the aerial, and then you can also go to the photo sheet on the plans, page 2 of the PDF, and then there's some aerial views that I think are even better than the photo mapper. Yeah, that 6 and 7, you might be able to zoom in on those and have a better understanding of there you go.
For the most part, the adjacent properties are obscured by the existing landscape. So we don't expect that the property to the west of us is quite a bit away, and it's further down. There's a ravine that separates the two of us. The property to the south of us sits below us, so they won't look at us. And then the property to the east of us sits above us, but their house is quite a ways back from us. And if you see the aerial view 6, the pool sits outside of our current building envelope, so that's being demolished.
okay, no more questions.
Elida, please, questions? Mike?
For some reason, my Mac wouldn't let me open this, and this is my first seeing of these plans. So given that, I don't have any questions.
Dave, please.
Is your proposed new residence taller or lower than the existing residence you're moving in?
It's lower than the existing residence. We have a 2-story building on the property now, and we'll be below the height of the existing 2-story structure.
Okay. Is it necessary to have the subfloor space and all that grading if you have that generous plenum space above the ceiling?
It's not entirely necessary, but it's a good, I build a lot of new homes and only luxury homes, and we do these healthy crawl spaces just because it gives us more airflow underneath the structure, which is good for healthy homes. And, you know, it's not necessary, but it's a good practice.
And have you considered any options for balancing the grading on site instead of exporting all
Yes.
that fill?
Yeah, and the grading numbers are preliminary. We don't have our civil engineer engaged yet. We will likely balance out quite a bit because we've got quite a deep pool to fill. So we'll likely be less than our anticipated export, but we wanted to give you a number that we wouldn't exceed.
Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Claire, please.
No questions.
Can we go to the elevations, please? The colored elevations, please. When I looked at these this morning, the thought that came to my mind was the fact that what you're really proposing is an extremely simple boxy house that has almost no articulation, but just slight reveals, and I guess it looks like some canted walls. And it also drew an image of the Indiana Jones movie with Kate Capshaw, where there was that dance scene at the very beginning where there was significant amounts of decoration within that interior view. So the question is, have you considered other additional elements that might give the exterior of this building more articulation and or light fixtures that might add as jewelry or something to focus the mind on to?
Yep.
Yes, please go ahead.
That's a very good question. So I think a couple of the earlier versions of the house that I showed the client were a little bit too modern. And so we've peeled it back a little bit. So yes, we have considered that and we're happy to consider that. There's a lot that doesn't read on a flat two-dimensional elevation. For example, the windows, the bay windows on the left-hand side, that's a half circle. So there's really beautiful articulation there. The detailing, there's rounded corners on the building, which also lend itself very much to the modern architecture. And we would absolutely consider more ornamentation if that would be something, so long as it's in keeping with the modern style. Certainly would be happy to come back with a little bit more ornamentation. But what I would say though is, from an architectural style point of view, you probably have not seen a modern house come before you before, I'm guessing. When I was hired to design this Art Deco house for the client in LA, I had not designed a new Art Deco house. Not too many people have. And so we're really leaning into here the modernity of the modern Art Deco movement, which is pretty minimal, but with extremely high quality materials, meaning the steel doors and windows, classically Art Deco and classically modern. But certainly we're happy to give you a little bit more ornamentation and pull it a little bit more modern so that we don't end up with a house that feels cheap.
Well, this building is not about me. This is about your client. But when I look at it, when I was in college, I had this modern clock that I found somewhere, and it had an awareness of detail that I don't see here. And this is their house. This is certainly approvable. It's buried way back in. Nobody's going to see this except them and their guests. So I just think I wanted to ask the question whether or not you considered it.
We have and we will, and it's a very good question. And this is our first presentation to you, so we can have a conversation with the client and perhaps dial it up a little bit and maybe come back to you with a more vigorous representation of the detailing on this, because I build good houses, I design good houses, and a lot of the detailing is kind of hard to see at this scale, but we're certainly happy to come back and impress you more with what we can do with this.
And I'll admit, John, that Tim wanted to do that. And I cautioned that, let's get our conceptual, Tim's ready to go with lots of detailing and building permits. And I cautioned him to let's make sure we get some general feedback. So no doubt we'll have much greater detail in the next.
So have you done any 3D modeling of this, please?
We have a 3D animation of the house. We've got to go through some modifications of that, but we'd be happy to present that to you the next time we come around.
Yeah, I don't think animations work very well because of the file sizes, things like that. But if you could get some single shots, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
we absolutely.
Okay, so public comments. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on 327 San Ysidro Road, please?
No request for this item.
Okay, comments. We are on for concept, first time, no planner. Tim.
So I actually, like the Art Deco direction that this project going. And if you're from Southern California, there are so many beautiful Art Deco buildings, especially down San Clemente. And we have done several of them, and I have studied a lot of details with Art Decos. And I think that if to help us out, we can come back next time with some perhaps inspirational images that always help the board see the project a little better. One thing I noticed is that a lot of Art Deco buildings had a lot of eyebrow window treatment over the windows to give it some, some details and some three-dimensional. I don't see any in this building. Sun shading, perhaps that's one way of looking at it. And the details are going to be very crucially important. How just stepping back the roof, the proportion of all those steel windows and doors. And I can see I can vaguely see the detail for the front door. And I think that it's a good beginning, but there's quite a bit of more refinement to get the house of this scale. That means it's it's even though the 1-story house, but it has the scale of the 2-story house, especially the middle portion, 23 feet. So we want to make sure that it's really properly detailed. So you come back next time with 3D rendering that would help.
Absolutely.
Images.
Yep.
And some of the detail for the doors and windows. And the roof. That would be very helpful. And I'm not sure we need a story pole or not. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. That depends on the feeling of the board.
Thank you so much.
Bill, please, comments?
Yeah, I agree with the comments that I've heard so far from Tip. I like the style, I think I can support generally, again, as John will say again, devil's in the details when we get to that point. When I looked at it originally, the proportions looked good and it felt right. But then as I started to realize 18 feet, and then I saw the little caricature there of the person, it looked like your sills are like at 5 feet in the air. So I think you're going to be probably fiddling with some of those windows in certain areas as you get further into the detailing of it, because it's hard to operate a casement when the sill is at 5 feet for the shorter people in the bunch. Generally, I like what I see. Definitely the mechanical area that you show on the site plan. I think we want to make sure that was well buffered in terms of sound. You're going to have to deal with that with planning anyway. So, does it have a roof? Is it a solid block wall? That kind of thing. And again, at some point when you get to that point, seeing your landscaping, I think will be important too on this. But yeah, generally speaking, I like what I see and I could support it so far.
Thank you.
Robert, please, comments?
I too like the 40s Art Deco modern style, and yeah, with high quality materials, you can pull it off. And you mentioned the windows and doors being steel, but I'm curious about the walls, and I'm a real fan of quality being expressed in the wall thickness. And I can imagine this building kind of having a masonry feel and deep reveals at those windows and doors, and making sure that it doesn't read, the walls don't read too thin, more like they're like a Frank Lloyd Wright, block house, or something that reads heavy quality rather than thin.
Great.
Good direction though. I like it.
Elida, please.
No comment.
Dave, please.
I'm very intrigued by the design. It's quite a unique style that I don't think I've seen before on the board. And I think I like it. But God is in the details on a project like this where it's all about restraint. And when you're playing with the scale, when it's a residence, but the scale is almost getting monumental. So I'm rooting for you, and I would caution you about ornamentation and other things. I think restraint is what this project is all about. But like you say, doing really refined details. Robert just mentioned the deep recesses, which you look like you have shown on your floor plans, and really following through on it. But I'm quite intrigued with the project and support it. And I think given the reason I asked about the existing residence, given the existing residence is 2 stories and taller than this, I'm okay with not having story poles on this project. Oh, the last thing too is I think the other component that's really missing is landscape. For a project like this, I think the landscape is critical. It's so formal, and so I think some of the softness and detail can be added with the landscaping.
Thank you so much.
Claire, please.
I have no further comments because mostly you've been talking about what's in front of us and this is way beyond me, so I don't have any comments.
When I talk about detail, the main Santa Barbara post office on Anacapa, just down the street from here, has these really important light fixtures right at the front door. And they just take over that elevation. They're beautifully articulated. They are, in my opinion, oversized, and somehow it just works a charm. And I don't think that I'm going to go with Dave here on too much ornamentation is going to become cluttered or kitschy or something like that. I know those weren't his exact words, but I think that's where he was going with it. And when I talk about articulation or detail, I'm hoping that there will be a few things that hold the building together like that are just undeniable and reveal the true statement or the true grandeur of the building that you're proposing here. Now, Dave's comment about the height, or maybe it was Bill's comment about the height of that little itty teeny weeny guy over there on the left, it was not a bad comment. And I think that what's happening there is that you are pushing the building up to get your crawl space, but you are creating a needlessly tall building as a result of that. There are very many ways to get that crawl space by having openings that you crawl down into and out. Yes, rain is a potential problem. There are ways to solve that, but so that you don't have the building built off the ground as high as it is here. Now, I'm fully expecting that the landscaping is going to help bring this down. But Tip's comment about 18 and 22 feet and being fairly important, do we need story poles? That is as high as a building that we would oftentimes get story poles. And we're not asking for them because it's technically a one-story. But I would very much encourage you to consider ways to bring down all of, or at least the outer portions of the building down lower so that it doesn't have as imposing grand view or massing as it does now. So they are on for concept. We want to see them again at concept, right?
Well, they don't have a plan.
Yeah. Okay. And then how many people feel a landscape plan, even at concept, would be important because of the size of this building, please?
For me, it would be very, very important, you know, throughout this whole discussion. That's kind of, I kept waiting, and then I noticed in the plans there never was, you know, and so for me, I'm right now looking at a imposing building, but how is that going to fit into the environment? And that's why I didn't have any comments, because I didn't have a.
I agree that given the monumental scale of the project, the landscaping is a key component. So I would really want to see that sooner.
We have Scott Menzel signed up, and so when we come back, we'll have a full landscape plan, and we'll layer in all of the landscape materials into the property so you can see actually.
By the way, at concept where we are, or the beginning of this project, you don't really need to do the full landscape plan. You know, it just give some ideas of how this building is going to sit in the environment.
Of course.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not asking for a fully laid out landscape plan. I just want to know what's going to go on around this building as it moves through the process.
Also, I think it was Tip said inspirational images. Do I remember? I think that was one of the really great comments that came here. We have seen projects without inspirational images, and then when they came back, two things happened. the board understood it better, and I think the design also changed as a result of that on other projects. So I would highly recommend that you bring those not only to help us, but to help you organize your thinking. So
Absolutely happy to do so.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brian. Jason, are you here? 472 Santa Rosa Lane?
Yes, sir. I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And he is also on for concepts. You're on. Have we seen this before?
No, you haven't seen this one before. We're at 472 Santa Rosa, which is kind of behind the YMCA, Montecito Y, for lack of a better term. So you see the existing photos. We have this 1970s house, which hasn't had too much love or care. And so we're just doing some minor additions. We're changing the roof line at the entryway. We're adding a pool and a spa in the back, and some minor additions that are around on the back side of the house. I'll be coming back with a landscape plan because we'd like to kind of privatize the property a bit with combination of an entry gate, and I'll work with Montecito Fire on that, and some hedging along the front, and then. Of course, we're blessed with a lot of nice natural hedging around the perimeter of the property, but we'll introduce what we're doing around the pool and whatnot. So I'll come back with that. Having said that, you can scroll down and we can look at just these little minor additions that we're doing. Most of our work is really interior work. We will be changing all the doors and windows to high quality French doors and double hung windows. We wood with cladding, and I'll come back with that color board and those materials. But there's existing elevations. You can scroll down. Proposed floor plan. It's an addition off the back. Actually, we missed a slide. Can you go back just a couple? It just illustrates this one here. Yeah, thank you. Those are the locations of the additions. It's kind of odd and sporadic, but it's a little bit off the off the rear of the house where we're extending the breakfast. We're doing a little infill in between the little alcove in the front. There's just over here, master bathroom. We're doing a small extension, so it's just this odd little configurations, but it really helps with the interior flow of the house and with our interior reconfigurations that we're doing. Thank you for that. And then we can go down to this existing. There's the proposed plan. There's the roof plan that shows you which are the new roof elements. Again, I'm just doing a pop out over the existing entry door, and we're kind of reconfiguring that to give it a sense of entry. And then the main addition is towards the back. And then that addition that I'm doing over on the master bath, it actually the eaves are so deep. It's kind of odd, but our addition actually fits underneath the existing eave, so there's no need to change the roof line at that point. And then if you go to the next slide, so the south elevation is what you see from the street, and so you can see where we're popping that up, the entryway, to kind of give it a sense of entry. Those represent all the new doors and windows, much of them going really kind of right back in the same location they are. And then we're introducing an outdoor fireplace. It'll be, Santa Barbara sandstone. Existing is a board and bat, and the existing roof is a presidential asphalt shingle. So it's got a little bit nicer profile to it. We're probably going to keep that and just go with that. And then with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Questions, Claire, please.
What's the FAR?
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me. It's low.
Oh, there, okay. Oh, it's there somewhere, okay.
I'll check real quick.
Okay, thanks.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Dave, please.
The two gables are what are additions that you're proposing?
Yes, they are.
Thanks, that's my question.
Robert, please. Questions?
No questions.
Bill, please. Questions?
No questions.
Elida, please.
No questions.
Chip, questions, please. No question. Thank you. And I have no questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on 472 Santa Rosa Lane, please?
I have no request for this item.
Can I try something? Is there anybody that would disagree with putting this on preliminary, final, and consent?
Nope.
Let's do that. Jason, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
7, Pico. Make sure you speak into the mic, please, and make sure it's turned on. There's a red light when it's on.
Hello, I'm Akiko Wade Davis, architect.
Amy Blakemore, landscape architect.
So we're looking at 1180 Mesa Road, halfway on the block, halfway down between Butterfly and Middle Road. And these are some photos that we have of the neighboring homes, which are the 8 photos on the left, and the 6 photos on the right are photos of the existing house and property. Photo 2 and 3 give you a good idea of what's visible from the street. It's a single story, modest 2-bedroom home. About, what is it, 1,500 square feet, I believe, is the existing. The garage on the right, kind of tucked back. You can see images 6 and 7 are views of the backyard. 7 is looking towards the north west corner, showing existing fencing and screening along the property lines that is there currently, and also the large evergreen tree that's kind of right in the center of their backyard. You can see, if we scroll down a little bit, that shows just another view of the existing covered porch off the back side of the home. The 8 photos along the left-hand side just show adjacent properties, one including a 2-story home across the street from the home. I think that's image number 15, if I remember correctly. We can go to the drawings.
Can we also get the FAR in here right at the top?
FAR is 104. What that includes is an ADU that we are also in the process of getting permitted in the back portion of the property. So you can see there's an overage of 325 square feet from that, getting us to 104.
Thank you very much.
So this is the existing site plan. You can see Mesa Road along the south. You can see that the single-story home with the garage on the right, the large evergreen tree in the center of the backyard, the adjacent homes. There's also a 2-story home in the back to the north on the north parcel. And we can scroll down to the proposed site plan. What we're proposing is, it's currently a 2-bedroom home. We're proposing to do some additions to create a 3-bedroom home. The areas in blue are what we're proposing to add, all single-story additions. The garage we're wanting to pull forward to allow them to develop that eastern side of the property with more living space. The hatched areas in the front and back are proposed covered areas, the front being the covered entry porch and the back being a covered porch that faces the backyard with a gable roof element, which we'll show you. On the west side, we're just expanding the width of that wing, which is currently about 10 feet wide. So we're adding a couple feet to just make those bedrooms along that wing a little bit more comfortable. So we can scroll down. This shows the existing and proposed floor plans. Thank you for zooming in. That's the existing floor plan. So you can see the layout's not ideal. So we're trying to modify that a bit just to make it feel a little bit more livable. If you scroll down to the proposed floor plan, you can see where the garage is pulled forward. Again, the additions are shown in a light gray hatch. Adding a primary suite behind where that garage is being pulled forward in the location where the garage is currently. You can see the development of the covered porch along the north with the fireplace and eating and gathering spaces to expand the living space even further for their smaller sized home. You can scroll to the elevations. We've got existing elevations on the left, proposed on the right. We are proposing to change the materials, change all the doors and windows, give it a more contemporary style. The cladding for the walls would be a weathered cedar vertical plank. The doors and windows would be a dark steel look that'd likely be aluminum clad, but black. Cedar trim for all of those, standing seam metal roof in a light gray tone, and just adding more contemporary details to the home, giving it a more contemporary style. The second elevation, the north elevation, if you scroll up, is actually the elevation facing the backyard, where we have a gable roof element for the covered porch. Since it is north facing, we wanted to make sure we got a lot of natural daylight coming into that space and not with a low roof overhang. Also trying to emphasize a view to the mountains that they have from that side of the house. If we scroll down, the last elevation is the elevation facing the street. So you can see the garage on the right-hand side, the expanded wing on the left-hand side with a modified bay window, more contemporary, and then the entry in the center with that covered porch and a shed roof element. I will let Amy take over on the next sheet, which is the landscape.
So the existing street frontage is pretty minimal. There's just a bed of ivy with a really sad, struggling olive tree in the center of it. If you could scroll down a little bit to the entry. So we're proposing to sort of beef up and enhance the street frontage with a couple mature olive trees flanking a new entry walk. Also pulling back from the edge of the street, also with new low fencing and gates. And adding a water feature there for some water noise to kind of mitigate some of the traffic noise that you can hear from that space. In the rear garden, we're proposing new hedging all along the perimeter. You can go up just a little bit on the drawing. We do have the benefit of some really beautiful mature trees. Those are all to remain. We are dividing the space into a few different areas of activities. There's some vegetable gardens. Spa element, screening some utilities for the house equipment, and providing some isolated seating for the master area. All of our materials are going to be pretty low water. We do have some roses because the client is partial to those.
Are you done?
I think there's one more sheet of plant material, but other than that, we're done.
Questions, Robert, please.
No questions.
Elida, please.
Amy, what's that big tree? I didn't hear.
It's
It
a
was said
cedar.
before.
It's a cedar.
Oh, my God.
It's huge.
That was my only question.
Dave, please, questions?
No questions, Jim.
Tip, please, questions?
Yes, from your presentation, it seemed to me like you're building a brand new house. Have you considered taking it down, start from scratch?
We did consider that in terms of talking with the contractor and the ability to save certain parts of the foundation, it made sense to maintain that and work within it, but we did explore that.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be a brand new house by the time you complete that.
Bill, please.
Do covered patios get added to the FAR? Did you guys add those to
No,
that?
we did not.
And Kimberly, do they get added or
No,
they don't? Okay,
not if they're attached to the house.
okay.
But through the wonders of the public process, when they're detached, they do count.
They do count.
Yeah.
Crazy. I assume you'll have non-reflective roof material.
Yes.
And last question, go to the north elevation there, Dave, real quick. It shows the lanai. If you can zoom into that new elevation there. It looks like your glass is really, really close to the plate there on the end. So just a heads up on anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be developing that as we get more structural information.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. That's it.
Claire, please, questions?
No questions.
Kiko, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a very grand window with, it looks like impossibly small areas between the upper right and the upper left corners to the structural members. Have you begun exploring structure yet?
No, we will develop that as we get more structural information.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on 1180 Mesa Road, please?
No request for this.
Okay, comments, please. We are on for concept. We do have a planner. Comments, and where should this go next, please? Robert, I'm sorry.
I don't have any comments, really, I think obviously, if we got the planner, we can come back for preliminary at least.
Full board or concept, please, or consent, please?
You mean for prelim?
Prelim final, yeah. What do
I
you
think
think?
full board.
Full board, okay. Are you done then? Please, Elida, please, comments?
Architecturally, this is a wonderful upgrade, wonderful upgrade. And I would say just go to preliminary and final on consent.
Okay. Dave, please.
I agree. It's a very nice upgrade of the existing house, and the landscape, both. I think it looks great. My one concern is the fact that you're going setback to setback, and that seems to be happening in the rest of the neighborhood, but you're doubling down on it and extending that even more. So I guess my one concern would be that area where all you have to do is have to screen the house as an existing fence, and it appears that the house is raised. So I'm just a little concerned about those flat elevations.
David, can you
Yeah.
pull up the site plan, please? And you're talking on the west side?
It looks like well, I don't know which one it is. It'd be the east side
Well, let's,
in particular, where there's all you have is a fence and a utility area. So when you come back, I'd like to address the screening and the visibility of those long, flat elevations. I see how they work well for your client and your house, but I just want to make sure you're not impacting the neighbors. But overall, I really like the direction you're going.
Tip, please, comments?
Yeah, I have no further comment to add.
Bill, please.
Yeah, can we look at that landscape plan again real quick? Okay, right there. So it looks like you have some hedging and some existing planting on that side. I'd be okay with coming back for final, preliminary and final on consent, but if the board wants to do the full board, I'm okay with that too.
Claire, comments, please?
And I have no further comments, and I think they should come back for preliminary with final on consent.
Is the board okay with the lack of articulation and side yard to side yard on this project? I want to bring that back up. The reason I do, item number 8 is not with us, but item number 9 is. And catty corner to item 9, which was on Stone Meadow, we had great concerns on significantly lesser setback to setback intrusion and asked them to pull it off. Is this neighborhood so different that it's okay? Or should we also be asking them to reconsider the plan here before we rock and roll on this project? I'm asking the board. Anybody got comments, please?
Is the other one you're referring to a single story also?
It was a single
Yeah.
story. If you remember, it was diagonal to the property and it actually had a wing go back. They took that wing off to two things, help reduce the FAR, but also reduce the massing. They were about this wide in comparison to a long lot. This is about this wide in comparison to that lot. So, but this is a really different neighborhood. This is sort of original Montecito Lane company, right?
Yeah.
This is the very beginning, first part of Montecito. So maybe that's enough. And so I want to ask the board to make sure that we've got it figured out properly. Comments, please?
I'm okay with it, just based on looking at the other residences and the way they're located, as long as it's screened, so that those sides aren't readily visible.
Anybody else?
I agree with that. Dave's comment.
So you're okay. Okay, and in terms of where I think it ought to go next, I think we should, if they're gonna come anyway, we might as well give them a shot at final. They may or may not make it. but I don't see any reason not to have it preliminary final on the full board.
Oh, okay,
And
that's
then,
fine.
and then if they don't make it, which is common, that you don't get all the way, we get you on the consent the next time, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Be good. Amy, I think you're with us again, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
If I am, it's a surprise to me. She said you didn't have our calendar.
okay, item number 8 has asked for a continuance. We did grant it. So we're now on to item number 9, 607 Stone Meadow Lane. William, are you here? Who's representing? Carl?
It's tall.
Yeah, but. Hello, anybody out there?
He was with. He was with.
Well, Carl made the comment to me earlier today. We're the first and last item, so I know that he was aware of that.
Hi,
Anybody?
John, this is Mark Koskowski, landscape architect with William Hefner.
So, okay. So let me read the comments. I've been not quite as good about that as I should be. Nicely designed project. MBAR appreciates response to previous comments. Return with fully developed landscape plan. Explore options to reduce hardscape, increase landscaping, and we are on for preliminary. We are not required to have a landscape plan, but you provided, so those were our comments. So do you want to go ahead with the landscaping, please, and we'll go from there?
Yes, I can do that. And I know I can see William is logged in. He's on mute. And I'm sure I just sent them notes that tell them that we were up.
Okay, good, thank you. So let's go to the landscape plan and we'll go from there. No. I saw a plan. Yeah, there.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Okay, do you want to? There we go.
Sure, there it is. Yeah, we took a very California native drought tolerant approach with all of our plant types. I think there's just one planter between the front walkway and the driveway that we're using moderate or what would be more ornamentals, which would be crepe myrtles. So we're very conservative on this. We have reduced the lawn size. We're just over 15% now from the overall lawn and planting area percentage. We did, one of the comments last time was to provide more planting on the lower edge, which is the south property line, to help screen neighbors. And we do have, we've introduced more olive trees along that property line. This is one of our most conservative planting plans as far as water use. But what we were coming up against, and we'd like to ask the board this question, especially since it doesn't look like William or Carl are on yet. We are applying for the CWSA, the Certificate of Water Service availability with Montecito Water. And even though if we do our MWELO calculations, we're about 100,000 gallons a year under what we should be doing. Although the Montecito Water District is asking, or because of their historical use of water on specific projects, this parcel was required to have about 380,000 gallons per year. And with our landscape, even though it is so conservative, we are still 100,000 gallons over what the Montecito Water District is going to approve. We took looks at this and used calculations reducing the lawn. But even if we eliminated the lawn, and planted it with native plants, we still did not meet the restrictions. And our question would be, if the board has ever seen this type of discrepancy between what the historical water use on a parcel has been and what a new project would be.
Is there anybody that would like to comment about that, please?
My question is, are you having to irrigate every bit of it?
Yes.
Are there some areas that don't need irrigation?
Well, the specific property within the property line, we are going to need to plant new planting, even if it is native plants. And we were talking, Carl and I were on the phone with Dennis Hansen of the Montecito Water District. And his only suggestion was to have large areas that were unplanted. But the other suggestion was have us do our water calculations after 3 years of installation, which with the native planting, we would be reducing the water use. But I still don't think we're going to be able to reach that minimum or the maximum allowable water use for landscape.
Well, may I ask a question? The lower left corner where there is lawn, and then there's some brown pattern right there. Is that a patio? Is that a deck just above?
Yes.
Right there, David.
That's a covered patio. So that rectangular shape is everywhere that we would be using impervious paving. And most likely it would be a limestone or other stone paving. The beige that does not have the rectangular patterns in it is a pebble walkway, so it's permeable. And the driveway, we're looking at a permeable cobblestone.
And is the same thought above the pool as well, that's all patio?
Yes, and it is also covered. There's about a little more than half of that area is covered.
How is the client thinking of using that lower lawn area? Is that just for visual pleasure or?
No, there's 2 children's bedrooms that are off the covered patio. And that is going to be their play yard.
Got it. Thank you.
Is anybody here for, I'm sorry, Claire.
Yeah,
go ahead, please.
I'm just tagging on. Is everything that we see in the landscape plan, is that all new material or some of that exists?
That is all new. We are going to repurpose the existing olive trees that are on the property, but we are leaving all the trees, and you can see those with just the black outline, and all of the existing trees have been called out. But there's very few. There's like 3 oak trees, two fairly large, a large podocarpus.
I can kind of see them from the drawing, which now that you pointed out to me. Okay.
Right. So, but most of this is all going to be new. And although
that's where your water use is going. I mean, that's a lot this is a lot that I mean, the house is getting redone and stuff, but also the entire lot is going to be newly planted. And that's where your water problem is coming from, I guess.
And unfortunately, the existing property is mostly all turf right now.
Right. Well,
if it's all turf, then how can the water use be so low?
Because the historic use was taken from years 2003 to 2006.
All I would do is ask them to please send you the ordinance that provides that as the criteria and go from there. I'm unaware of that ordinance, but that doesn't, I don't follow every agency. Okay, so we need to move on from that. Thank you for asking the question. Good luck with that. Now, we are on for preliminary, and if we don't have an applicant, do we feel that, can we go up to sheet 1, PDF sheet 1? Do we need to, you start going through this? Do we need to have them here? David, can you just start?
I think we've seen this quite a few times already. So
Yeah, well, we're on for preliminary,
Yeah.
so that's the big one.
I'm giving William a call right now.
The last, okay, so nicely designed project, MBAR appreciates response
Yep.
to previous comments, return with fully developed landscape plan, explore options to reduce hardscape, increase landscape. So we had no, nice project, but we didn't have anything to say here. Okay, well, I'm not sure he's able to, given what he was just saying. So why don't you just go through, and everybody, can we vote for preliminary based on this, please?
Or as to whether we have enough in the plan right now.
And whether or not it's acceptable and all that.
Let's go back, David, could you go back to the two that right here? I want to see what we're looking at. Okay, so this is the house,
Yep,
right?
we did a site visit. You go, yeah, I can't remember the name of that road. It comes down and then it's right, there's kind of a Y-shaped area, and this is right at the end of the,
well, now this is getting torn down. So it's
Oh, yeah.
It's a new house.
Oh, this house is getting.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole house is going.
It's all a new.
Okay.
Yes, this is the existing house and that will be demolished.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
going away.
That's what's confusing.
Yeah, and I remember the last meeting we had with them, they did address the issues that we had about entrances and parking and drives and stuff like that. And we were fine with the architecture of the building.
okay, I think we have two options. Number one, we can take a look at this and see whether or not we believe this is ready for preliminary. Number two, we can continue it to the consent calendar and ask the applicant to come and address the consent calendar. Make sure it's up to the full board, please.
Well, we could give it.
Okay, is it Dave?
Hello,
Hello, who's there, please?
this is Carl Cross from Studio William
Hey,
Hefner.
Carl, you saved the day. Okay, so you, for your client, so we have been favorably disposed to the architecture in the past. Have you made any changes to it since we last saw you? on this?
Yes.
What did you do, please?
Yes. So I think we took your comments in heart, and we've eliminated a lot of the hardscape that, especially on the eastern end. So right off of the front facade of the eastern end, we eliminated that trellis and we moved the whole project slightly towards the setback line, but still getting off of that setback line, and eliminated all that hardscape and that trellis on that eastern side. And we've reduced the lawn a little bit and reduced the overall hardscape of that.
And have you made any changes to the building itself, please?
No.
Okay. David, could you just?
Oh yeah, so we eliminated the ARPs. We reduced the plate height of the overall structure of the main residence. I think per our last visit on the story poles, that was part of our other presentation. So that was something that we changed slightly.
What is the plate height now? It varies.
Here we go. Let's see. Next one. It varies overall, the overall project, but I believe the main height is at 11.6. There we go. We could kind of zoom in on those elevations there.
We had a pergola that was kind of high on this side of the street, and we did on the street setback, and we lowered the great room, I think, by 1.5 feet from what we previously presented.
Is that you, William?
Yes,
Okay,
Hi.
welcome. Thank you for joining us.
thank you. I'm sorry that we weren't waiting here. I'm surprised. Anyway,
Okay. Anything else you want to point out to us, please? William?
since the last time we changed the entrance to the garage in order to minimize the hardscape, right? That's what you're talking about, Carl, and introduce more landscaping on the south side adjacent to the neighbor where there was a concern previously. We did
Yes.
that.
So you
Yes, here.
reduced the lawn from your first presentation, it's less than it was?
Yes. I remember.
Yes. Used to run farther up to the upper left, up into the upper left corner.
Mark, could you
Um,
address that, please? And the plantings on the south side?
Yeah, we reduced the lawn by about 10% overall of the overall planting, because I think the last presentation we were at 26% of lawn to overall planting, and now we're down to 16%.
Think of a lot.
We reduced the lawn by more than 10%, right?
Right, I actually, it was about 30%, sorry.
Well, the plan makes the lawn area look bigger than it is on the site. So
Yeah, I think wherever we have shrubs, we're showing a green underlaying that looks like it's planted, but that's really going to be mulch.
Oh.
So just the areas that are labeled as lawn, which is around the pool, and then at that lower left off the children's play area, or the children's bedrooms, that's going to be their play area, or the lawn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you done, William, please? Or not?
Yes.
Okay, questions, Bill, please?
Was there any landscape lighting? Did you guys?
Yes,
show-
PDF page 31.
I think two
There's
tree
three.
lights.
They're the light blue dots,
there's
2 in the
the-
back and 1 in the front.
And you have your 3 parking spaces, your guest parking is on the south side of the garage there, and then you got 2 in the garage.
Yes.
That was all I had. Thanks.
Questions, Chip? No question. Questions, Elida?
No questions?
Robert? Dave?
No questions.
Claire?
No question.
And I have no questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 9, 607 Stone Meadow Lane, please?
No requests.
Okay, comments, please. Does anybody feel we can go right to a motion, or do people have comments?
I'll make a motion if you want.
That, everybody okay with that?
Move
Okay,
to
yes, please.
grant preliminary approval and return for final on consent.
And tree lighting mounted no higher than 12 feet.
Sounds good.
Okay, anything
Second
else?
that.
Any further discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, everybody. Okay, motion.
Okay.
Who made that last second? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Dave, okay.
It's a motion. for-
Okay.
Please.
So moved.
Second, anybody?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay. Okay.